All right, shalom, everybody. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Amen. I welcome everybody on all the different platforms, whether you're joining us on the podcast, joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. We appreciate your presence on with us today. Thank you very much. We had our day off yesterday, coming back on today. And As always, we're changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. And thank you, everybody, for being on with us today. We're excited to continue with the series that we've been in our FAQ series, frequently asked questions, all of which you can catch up on YouTube. You can catch up on, I think, all of which on the podcast. You can look on, and if you go on YouTube, just simply go on our YouTube channel, hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FIND KOFI, and you'll be able to look up and see. Just look under the playlist FAQ, standing for frequently asked questions. And we are on part 9 today. So you got quite a bit of stuff there. If it's your first time being with us during the series, shalom to everybody on the platforms again. Hello, Sister Deborah. Hello to Minister Tamara, Minister Sonia, Christina, Sister Dawn, um, Sister Beverly, to all of those who are going through different things, trying to still heal from what happened for those of you who are in the Buffalo area or have family or just thinking about it. We appreciate everybody so very much. And we're thankful once again to be able to have a little bit of conversation and look at some things that what the Most High has for us is what is being done, and the process of us becoming greater as a people. And so thank you for being on to everybody again. Amen. Thank you, Minister Select Joseph, for that. And yeah, Sister Nakia, matter of fact, I guess we can do that real quick because I got your message yesterday. I wasn't able to answer at the time. Wednesday is kind of a day off slash maybe get a couple things done here or there. But Wednesday, I was advised to have a day off. So we kind of used Wednesday as that day, and I had some other things going on. But if I look at it, let me see. Because we did have an issue. We had tried to tell people a few times. I don't know you've if that concerns you or not. I'm just saying I know we had some people with classes where the doc or not the form that we had sent out was we got some people saying yes, I want to take this, I want to take that, but we have some names missing for some of the stuff. So with some of the stuff we don't have any names that came on there, but I'm going to look now because it keeps being added on all the time, and we might have missed your name on there. So it could be something that simple where we just missed the name. Okay, yeah. So it looks like we got you updated now. And I see you on here. What you taking? Hold on one second. I'm gonna just say it out loud real quick. I see that we got a couple of other names that got on here too. So we'll look at that. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so you're taking all of them. Okay, so no problem. So we shouldn't have a problem with you anymore. We'll make sure that you're added to the Google Calendar today. You, and then looks like we got Sister Marion, and looks like we got Minister Select Omar as well. So for certain ones, so we'll have that taken care of today. Um, and we'll make sure that you get you need the recording for Hebrew characters and for Sovereignty One. So we'll take care of that. So I'm saying that out in public right now. So if I don't do it, I'm obviously off. All right, I'm not gonna give any more information other than that. But I see we got you on here updated. So I do apologize for that not being in place. Looks like it was actually updated on the 17th. So uh, put that on me. I don't even know what today's date is, right? What is today's date? Whatever the case might be, it looks like we got that for the 17th. So yeah, so we should have had it updated on that. I guess that would have been Tuesday, because today's the 19th. So we'll make sure that that's taken care of. All right. So now I got it. I see you. Yeah, I see you and two others that were updated. One other person on the or actually one person on the 18th, one person did it today. So we'll make sure that all those things are taken care of. All right. Okay. Cool. How you doing, Sister Dawn? How you doing, Miss Mac? Uh, Hola, ¿cómo está? Yo soy, así, así, no, like, yo soy bien. Yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. Uh, but yes, thank you everybody for being on. We appreciate it, and we're going to get into our Q&A. So today Q&A, I mean, I'm sorry, FAQ. We'll be in a position where we're going to do some Q&A, which we kind of do anyways each time we come on, but we'll do some Q&A for today. So anybody who has any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to put them in the Q&A box, if you want to put them in the chat, today's the day for you to be able to just go ahead and you guys kind of take the lead which direction you want to go. We talked about a great deal of things already, but every once in a while we try to do a Q&A in the midst of these series to make sure that you guys can kind of ask questions, or maybe there's things we went over that you guys want us to kind of go over again, or whatever the case might be. Remember, now this is not Q&A in general, even though we can probably take some of the things that are happening in general and allow them to come into what we're doing, but it's Q&A concerning frequently asked questions as far as, apologetics and what we believe, right? Being based most, not not all the way, but mostly, right, using this book as a way to think about things. I'm glad you asked, Dr. Kinboa and Larry Moody. I'm glad you asked, Dr. Kinboa and Larry Moody. I'm glad you asked, Dr. Kinboa and Larry Moody. All right. And we're doing that to ensure that we have something to kind of use. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns today, feel free to let us know. Um, and once again, we're thankful and grateful for the Honorable Maya who's on, who lives a life to able to be honored, and she's actually on right now. Hello. Shalom, babe. How are you doing? Hopefully all is well with you. And she's a herbalist, healer, chemist, and biologist by degree. And so, as always, feel free to check her out at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest. If you'd like to email her concerning tinctures and natural medicines and tea and things that she doesn't have the tea yet, but things that might be developing and things like that. I think she even has syrups and stuff she's done in the past, different things that can be natural for us to be able to digest, to have, and use as medication, since food is medication. Feel free to check her out. You can even email her at Bloom and Flourish and the number one. Bloom, the letter N, Flourish, the number one, at gmail.com. All righty. All righty. So thank you to everybody for being on. So anybody want to start us off? I can always have somewhere to start us off. But does anybody want to start us off with a question, comment, concern? If you're on the podcast, you can feel free to call in. If you're on TikTok, I think you have to have 1,000 what they call followers. But if you do, feel free to call in if it's specifically on that, right? To the moderators, we thank you as well. To Marsha, Malcolm, Betty, Isabel, and Solomon, Daddy loves you very much. And so if the moderators see that you are not allowing this to be a safe space, or you're mistreating people in here, you will not last. Just letting that be known, right? But we want to make sure. And oh yeah, thank you. The thanks for the month is energy. Uh, um, um, is it I am revived or energy revived? I'm not sure. Energy revived. You said is the word matrix in Exodus. That is something that would be news to me in all honesty. But let me do something real quick that we can look that up real quick. Let me see something real quick. Because obviously I don't think the actual. So as far as like matrix, what we mean, I don't know. Now the word matrix is not in our language. So if you're talking about originally, initially, but is the word matrix used in Exodus as far as, I guess you're saying the King James version? Yeah. So I guess like, is the word matrix there? Yeah. Like is the mindset of Matrix as far as the movie in there? Maybe not so much, but remember, once again, the Matrix originally, before it was stolen from the sister, was actually initially in there from a black woman, an Israelite woman, who was talking about, Neo being Yashvai, the one, and and different things like that, and trying to make sure that we came into knowledge of self, realizing we're plugged into a system, and so we need to be in the system but not of it, right? So we plugged in to do certain things, but then we unplugged. That was the whole thing. So even the term matrix, as far as, yes, the actual physical word matrix is in there, at least in the King James version. You'll see it in there. Matter of fact, I think you're going to see it in Numbers as well. Um, is it actually what it is? Matter of fact, we can just look up the word. Let's do this. That's what I started to do in the first place. That's sometimes the easiest way to do it. Let's just look up what the word actually was, because we know the word matrix is not actually, because we don't have a x sound, we don't have an I sound really. Um, you know, um, we kind of have a t ra, but we don't have a tr sound, so to speak. But we can look at what that word actually is, right? So let's just look up this term that they would have been using for matrix, so we can get a better comprehension of what they would have been saying, right? How you doing, Sister Deja? Thanks for being on. So it would have been the word that would have been um, rachim, rachim, right, which would have been resh, chit, and mim, rachim, rachim. Some might even say rachim, so you would do resh, kaf, him, and mim. Um, So if you were to go by Rahim, almost like a Rahim kind of thing, right? Or Rakim type thing, but Rahim, um, you're basically looking at the word for womb. Sorry. So you're actually looking at the word for womb there. It's not even the word nature. It's actually womb. Now that's why, once again, remember, Black Sister wrote it, that everything who believes in the Bible. So when you're looking at the term womb, it actually is the term. Um, it's actually talking about where you are. Like, remember in the movie, all the babies were plugged in, and then all the people were plugged in, and they were using as a battery source and all that, and the machine or the government or the system, the world was using the human beings and taking things from them and stuff. So it's actually, the matrix is really, the word matrix here really is supposed to be womb. Now, because we're not using things culturally, we kind of think matrix, system, connectivity, a presentation matrix type thing, a way of organization. And all that could be true about the womb. But when you hear this term matrix, you remember we talked about cultural indicators. If you learn the words and you learn what they actually mean and you learn the culture that goes with it, when you see certain words, the reason why I'll read the Bible or read whatever we're talking about a little different and use different words, and people say, where are you getting this from, is because I know what the cultural indicator is. So if I see matrix, I'm going to think womb, right? So I'm not going to think, you know, um, plugged in, this, that, or whatever. I'm going to think this is a womb, right? So that's what it's actually talking about, is the womb. So, and even think about the word, the characters, right? Resh, He, At, Mim, or An, Mim, right? It's saying the head, Resh, and then Hit, which is talk. I'm sorry, I said Hey. It's Hit. Excuse me. So Resh, the head, Hit is talking about being protected, a wall of protection, right? And then Mim is talking about the water, the blood, and the spirit. What is that? That's the womb, right? What you could think about it as far as, um, you know, the mother is kind of the head over that which is in the womb. You can talk about that the head's going to get in position when the baby's born, whatever. And you see protection, a wall, right? Aligning something that's there to protect the baby inside. The body normally would try to come and attack the baby, but your body sends signals to itself to say, hey, this baby, this foreign this foreign um, child that is in me, don't attack it, because normally anything in your body that is foreign, the body's there to attack it, right? If it's food, it's going to attack it and digest it. If it's something that's a bacteria that shouldn't be there, it's going to try to attack it, right? But your baby sends out things to say, hey, don't attack, or your body sends out things to say, don't attack this. This is important. And then it's protected, right? Het, and then you have mim, that is the water, the blood, and the spirit, right? So you put those together, resh, het, mim, and you get rachim. That's why some people say rakim, because they either do the cough sound, or normally what they're doing is they're putting that ch. Now we don't put ch, we put a k now, but that ch there, because if you're going by the modern, it's chet, so it'd be like rachim, or rachim, rachim, or if you put that k sound with it, the cough, then it's rachim. So you can see how people get like rahim or rakim right out of that, but you're talking about the womb. Great question, though. Excellent question. Once again, it's Q&A for today. So any questions, comments, concerns? How you doing, Sister Beverly? How you doing, Sister Hattie? Excuse me. Any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have today? Feel free to put them out there, and frequently asked questions concerning our faith and what we believe, and how can we explain this to somebody else or whatever. Feel free to put it out there for us, and we will make sure that we get into it as best we can. Anything else? Anything else? I don't know if I saw anything else come through. I don't know if I saw anything else come through. If not, I can talk about some things, but I don't want to necessarily take over today. I want to kind of flow with y'all. And I'm sorry. How you doing, Sister Tracy? I missed you earlier. How you doing, Sister Bree? Hello, Parole Girl. How you doing? Grand Rising, everybody. Shalom to everybody. Peace be upon everybody. So we're just talking about Q&A, question and answer. Any other questions? If not, I can go ahead, I guess, and I'll take the lead for a little bit until we get another one. Was hoping that you're right. Like, there's the time. Everybody always talking about we don't have time, but we got questions, this and that, or whatever. We don't answer. Feel free. You said expressing salvation to an unbeliever. So how will we go about it? So I guess a non-believer, we can think a couple different ways. So I have to answer it in a couple different ways. How you doing, Richie Porter? Thanks for being with us today. So I'd have to look at that a couple different ways. First and foremost, so first and foremost, I would have to look at it and say, okay, well, so you have either, when we say non-believer, we could be dealing with somebody that's atheist. We can be dealing with somebody that's agnostic. We can dealing with somebody who's Christian. I guess we're talking about. We could be dealing with somebody who's Muslim. We could be dealing with somebody who, says that they believe what we believe, but then has different beliefs, right? So, but if we're talking about salvation in general, salvation is something that is lost on us because we oftentimes misrepresent salvation. So salvation is based off of law. The whole Bible is law and case study anyways, right? But salvation is based off of law. How you doing, Brother Dennis? Right? So salvation is based off of law. So what do we say concerning salvation? We have to go back to, once again, Romans chapter 10. That's where we always go, right? But salvation is based off of law. So Paul writes about law concerning salvation, but we only start at Romans chapter 10, verses 9. And we really only read verse 9. We don't even read what came before it or what comes after it. Usually we just kind of just go, if you confess Yashva Adon, right? Or Adon Yashva, excuse me, and believe in your love, in your heart, that Elohim raised him from the dead, then thou shalt be saved, and rescued, sozo, have relationship. And that's kind of it. That's just kind of where we stop. And so that's not even talking about salvation, because that's not the salvation scripture. Many might be surprised to learn that it's not the salvation scripture. That is actually the scripture on being saved. The next verse over, is verse 10, where it tells us that salvation and righteousness is something we're still being led unto, right? By our heart and by our confession, right? That's basically like, so we're still on our way to righteousness and still on our way to salvation. So we have a problem, first and foremost, within our own community, within ourselves, within our congregations, within our assemblies, because people start talking about salvation, but they don't actually even read on salvation. They talk about being saved, and they make saved and salvation the same word. Saved is not the same word as salvation, even in the English, right? Saved means to be rescued. Salvation means to be salvaged. So, let's say we're walking across the street, and I'm walking with a gentleman. Sorry, I don't use that word. Sorry, I'm walking with a king, a man, and I don't know this man at all. I don't know him at all, right? We're walking across the street though. A bus is coming. I'm not paying attention. Got my headphones on, doing whatever, and I'm not paying attention. The light's not even right. Everything, whatever. And this bus is coming. It's going to hit me. The guy tries to get my attention. Can't. He pulls me out the way. But in pulling me out the way, he ends up dying for me. Right. I was saved. But now after that happened, I say, man, I want to know more about this guy who saved me. I feel some kind of way. I don't know what's going on, right? And I find out about him and his family and what he stood for. I found out that he was really big in the community. I found out that, his father was somebody who was very rich and had built all these homes and stuff and mansions and stuff for people to be able to live in, et cetera, et cetera. And so I go to all this stuff and I learn more about him. I say, man, he makes me want to be better and maybe try to do the same stuff. And so then I become salvaged, right? I start salvaging myself. I start becoming better than what I was and realize that who I needed to be the whole time was closer to who this person is than what I ever thought I was supposed to be. I go through a salvaging process, right? That's salvation. So salvation, and by the way, when you put a T-I-O-N on any word, it makes it a noun, a person, place, or thing. So many people are saved, they're rescued, they have a relationship, they know somebody saved them, right? But they're not salvaging themselves and becoming salvation, the person, or being under salvation, who is the person, right? Yahshua is our salvation. They're not doing things that are salvaging the things that they do, and they are not going to places and salvaging places, cleaning up and redoing even the places that they're in, right? So that's first and foremost, is that we have to comprehend that, first of all, we miss the salvation scripture because we actually read Romans 10:9 and stop there. And that's about being saved. That's not about salvation. So once saved, always saved. Once rescued, always rescued. It doesn't mean that you started salvaging yourself. And you have to work out your own salvation with what? Fear. That means respect and trembling. You should have a little bit of even being afraid or nervousness or some of the things, because you don't want to get this thing wrong concerning your salvation. If I'm speaking to you guys, I still get a little nervous because I don't want to give you guys the wrong thing, right? So, it's a different mindset, right? So so when we're talking about that, first and foremost, we already usually are off. Then when we go to the next phase of that, Romans chapter 10, verses 1-4, right? So we got to go backwards. Whenever you read a scripture, you got to read a little before and a little after. And if you don't comprehend what came before, you need to study what came before. And if you don't comprehend what came after, you got to study it so that you comprehend the context of what's going on. So Romans chapter 10, verses 1-4 is telling us that Paul says, my goal is that Israel would be saved. They would be rescued. That's how it starts off, because Israel must be sealed and then everybody can be grafted in. He says the same thing in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, talking about being grafted in, right? So he says, my ultimate goal is what? That Israel, Yashtil, would be saved, would be rescued. He said the problem with it is that Israel started being about her own laws and not the Most High's laws. And therefore, the law has become of none effect to Israel because we stopped following it and we made up our own. Never says that law is not important. It says we started making up our own. Right now, we fast forward over to Romans chapter 10, verse 9, and we get to a place where, oh, okay, so Israel must be saved so others can be saved, or at least grafted in. Everybody can be rescued, but everybody got to be grafted into something. Israel must be saved. That's still the prayer. We got to get ourselves together. That's what it's saying. Romans chapter 10, verse 1-4. Now go to Romans chapter 10, verse 9, right? That, hey, it's my will that all, I'm sorry. I'm getting the other stuff. Excuse me. Romans chapter 10, verse 9, that now if we confess, the word confess, even in the Greek, it means homologio, to have the same logic. So if I would have the same logic, right, as the kingdom and as what Yashua is teaching, as what Paul is teaching, I had that same logic that Israel's got to get themselves together, right? Then if I would confess that Yashua is Lord, that whatever he says goes, is there, and I would believe that Elohim raised him from the dead, then I would be rescued. Israel is not rescued until we do those two things, but then we have to salvage ourselves, which comes from becoming righteous again. That's right legal standing, and making sure that we are salvaging ourselves so we get to a place of salvation eventually, to where we have become what we should have always been before we started going somewhere else. Now skip down to verses 13-15. So if we believe in this stuff and we're being salvaged and we're going through this process and we're confessing, having the same logic that the Most High has, now verse 13. So anyone who calls upon the name the authority, the Shem, the authority, the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, or the name of Adon, the name of the Lord, you shall be saved, right? You've already confessed that Yahshua HaMashiach is Lord. So when you call upon his name, you shall be rescued again and again. The same way that you got rescued initially, you can now be rescued in your situation over and over again, right? However, we're talking about the rest of it, but how can somebody be saved if they don't believe, right? So how can you be saved if you don't call upon the right name? How can you call upon the right name if you don't believe in that name or that authority? How do you believe in that? How do you believe in that authority if you haven't heard it before? This is what it says in scripture, right? How do you hear it from somebody if it's not being preached by a preacher? How do you get that word preached by a preacher if that preacher has not been sent by the Most High? That's scripture, going from verse to verse to verse, right? Keeping cultural context, cultural curriculum, and being on point with what's there, right? So that's kind of something that would be there to be able to make sure it's there, right? So the book of Proverbs is history. I mean, the book of Proverbs basically is um, this one actually is not going to take me too long. The book of Proverbs basically is just King Solomon, who writes these proverbs. He's learned things from his father David. Watching his father David be there, he was given wisdom by the Most High, and he's basically taking the wisdom of the Most High, taking the example of what his father taught him, and basically giving you what his father taught him as far as everything. So he teaches you about equity, right? In Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3. He teaches you that fathers give instruction, but mothers lay down the law. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. He teaches you to make sure that you're, don't lean to your own understanding and always acknowledge the Most High. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. He's teaching you about marriage and how you should speak in marriage and how to find a wife. Proverbs chapter 18, verses 21 and 22. He's teaching us about making sure that we actually are thinking about generational wealth. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, over and over again, right? He's teaching us, it's even him as a male telling you the story that his father would have told him about a queen who was teaching her son about what to look for in a wife. That's where you get Proverbs 31. We oftentimes, once again, we just focus on Proverbs 31:10. Right? Oftentimes we just focus on Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10, and we miss the rest of it, right? But if you start at Proverbs chapter 31, verse 1 and read on continuously, you will discover that it's a continuous conversation that's going on over and over. So the book of Proverbs is basically just written by King Solomon. King Solomon is reflecting on what his father taught him with the wisdom now of the Most High. At this time, before Yahshua comes, he would have been the wisest man to ever live. Before him, it would have been a man named Haman, or Haman, or we would now say Haman. If you meet a person called Haman in Jewish culture, this name is there a lot. Haman, right? Haman, and Haman would have been the wisest man to ever live before Solomon. Matter of fact, there's at least one of the divisions of Psalms is written by Haman, and he was like could do everything. He was a musician, but he also did a whole bunch of stuff. He was extremely wise. So that's kind of the that's kind of Proverbs in a nutshell. That's really what Proverbs is there for. It's a king whose father was a king telling you what his father taught him through the wisdom of the Most High, and using cultural indicators and cultural stories to be able to give you stuff. So when you get to the Proverbs 31 woman, you got to know that that's actually a queen that would have told her son a story, and that King David held that story in such high esteem. He actually taught it to King Solomon, who now teaches it to us. Should the body be cremated? Should the body be cremated? Should the body be cremated? So there really is nothing that says the body cannot be cremated. There's nothing that says that the body should be cremated. I can say more people were, buried than cremated. It does not mean that the body cannot be cremated. It's really kind of up to you. People have different beliefs on why they do it. Some people do it just because they want their ashes to be spread. Because let me put it like this: I think the biggest thing with the cremation thing is people wonder, is it disrespectful to the body? For the most part, that's kind of what the question comes with it. And you have to comprehend, like, once the body is a temple and all that, but once the soul leaves, right? So once the heart stops beating, once the last breath goes out, the soul is gone. Like when somebody's on the machine, for the most part, at the end, if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever been part of this, but when you go and you see somebody breathe their last breath, and then they try to put them on a machine to keep them alive, they're the reason why the doctors start calling the family and seeing what they want to do is because at that point that person is gone, because the soul and the spirit is gone. To be absent from the body is to be present with the dawn, right? Prayerfully, right? Unless we done messed up, right? But to be absent from the body, be present with the Lord. So if you're going to deal with that, a lot of times it comes from people feeling like I'm disrespecting somebody, or I don't want to see my family, I don't want to be there when the body burns, things like that. And those are all, I can hear you, but if as far as the actual cremation part, it's it's not really anything that says you can't do it. There's not anything that says you should do it. It's a choice, and but it's not disrespectful. And I think that's more so where people come from on that. It's not disrespectful. Somebody said a desire to disassociate after consciousness. I'm assuming that's saying, why do we? I don't know if you're still on, Alex. Is it Alexandria? Oh, Alexandria Ugg. Okay, nice play on words. So I don't know if you say it. If you can put in the Q&A box maybe or something for me. I don't know if you're asking, is it natural to have a desire to disassociate once you're conscious, or if you're asking something else. So I want to make sure that I'm on track with that answer for you. If you don't mind, if you're still on, if I don't hear from you in a little bit, I'll just answer it as what I think you mean. But I don't like giving opinion and answering an opinion. Kava King, thanks for being part of the community. Thank you for being with us. Hello, Cricket Brett. How you doing? How you doing, Sister Barbara, if I didn't say so already? Benjamin, hello. Thanks for the love, by the way. Thanks, babe. I appreciate it. I don't know SAG. I don't know what that means. But hopefully, SAG Babe 24. Okay. Thank you very much for being on. And thank you, Minister Sonia, always helping out in the chat. I'm sorry, Minister Tamara, always in the chat putting the stuff on. Both of y'all helping the chat, but Minister Tamara putting the stuff there. Salvation is an individual. Everyone respond. Yeah, salvation is something that everybody should be responsible for on their own. That's why you work it out. Amen. Should they use it to burn bodies so a spirit would not come back in it? Yeah, so there's a belief in things like that, like a spirit might come back in the body, things like that. But once a body's dead, it's there's no soul. Like I comprehend, the only way that even works, as far as people thinking that, is you have to actually, even when people use the term zombies, you got to comprehend, like the word zombie and stuff. It doesn't even mean what we think it means. The person is alive. The person doesn't die and then come back to life. That's not what a zombie is. They started making up this word zombie for people that were doing things, in Haiti and, in New Orleans or in Louisiana, and places where, voodoo was getting more popular. And voodoo isn't even what it was in West Africa. Voodoo has become a mix of a whole bunch of stuff. So voodoo is not even voodoo anymore. But nevertheless, people were doing things like that where they would lock up bodies, and they would have people to where it was like they couldn't move, they couldn't function. Witchcraft, even, by definition, not just saying because it's voodoo. I'm literally saying which in our culture literally means just somebody who controls, and craft means you put something together. So if it's witchcraft, you put something together that controls somebody. That's more so what a zombie is. So you could be a zombie that was going through everyday life, but you were bound to somebody and had to listen to what everybody said. So that could be considered a zombie. You got to realize what's going on. But yeah, when people talk about voodoo or whatever, you got to comprehend, like, that's a whole different discussion, because you got to figure out whose version of voodoo you got to figure out if it's, when people talk about, good voodoo and bad voodoo, or there's no such thing and all that. It's a very big mix. Matter of fact, there's a lot of churches where they do like voodoo ceremonies and places like that. In different places that I've gone to, you can feel it when you go in there, like, and come to find out, like, they're, I'm telling you from experience, like, come to find out that, like, in the past, when in my church experiences, rent out a building to somebody else who, is, a certain group of people with a certain spirituality, whatever. not realize what exactly is going on, and then come to find out, like, they're cutting, chicken heads and stuff in the sinks and different things like that. Like, you'd be surprised how much of that stuff still goes on. I'm sorry, Don. I never came back to the difference between discipleship and biblical law. Sorry about that. And did the person ever put the other? I didn't see them come up. So so basically, um, discipleship versus biblical law, and this is, I guess, more a class question, right, than anything else. Excuse me. So discipleship versus biblical law is simply, discipleship is talking about being a disciple, being a student, being becoming a master, becoming a teacher, being disciplined in things strategically. Biblical law is learning the law. Now, you could say, some people say, well, they're the same thing. No, because even though biblical law is there to protect rights and something we should adhere to, discipleship is going to talk about, you know, how am I getting up every day? What is my schedule? How often I'm praying. What Bible verses tell me, as far as, like, what do Bible verses tell me as far as what did Yahshua do? When Yahshua was getting ready to go to the cross, what did he discipline himself in? When before he walked on water, what did he discipline himself in? Right, like before he said, "I prayed for you," what was the discipline? When Moses got ready, before Moses could give the law, what did Moses have to first do? Before Moses could go back to Kemet, what did Moses have to first do? Right, discipline is different. The discipleship is different than biblical law. Before even biblical law existed, even though biblical law is really anything the Most High said. So technically, anything he said, hey, don't do this or else it will cause this, that's biblical law. But discipleship is the ability, the discipline, the habits. How do we develop those habits? So that's the difference between the two. When we talk about discipleship, we're disciplining ourselves and everything and putting a regimen together that allows us to be able to ensure that we actually obey the law. Biblical law in and of itself is the study of the word for the most part, whether we focus on the 613 laws, etc. So hopefully that answers that. Um, so what was the question? I don't think I saw the person come back. Let me see if I can find the question now. Y'all pray for me, humanity. I'm not the most high, so I might make a mistake here or there. Then sometimes I do things. Somebody said, "Have you communicate with somebody with Israelite of different culture?" I don't comprehend exactly, Minister Sonia. What do you mean? Like, how do you communicate with a black person who was a Christian or something, or how do you communicate with a person who's a Jew who says they're an Israelite? I'm not sure exactly which way you want to go. If you can put that in the Q&A for me, exactly what you mean. Uh-oh, I missed. Does anybody remember the question that I said I was going to come back to? I cannot remember. I'm looking. It should be right around here. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't. I think I missed it. Okay, somebody said, "Who is Israel?" Okay, we can answer that too. I can't find the question. Well, prayerfully, Holy Spirit, bring it back to my remembrance. Prayerfully, she will. Um, as far as if you're dealing with somebody who's argumentative, um, if you deal with somebody who's argumentative, I mean, you can't do but so much. You try your best to talk to them, maybe, see how you're led, but at the end of the day, it depends on the person and what they're doing. Um, so as far as being argumentative, it. Like, if you're saying, like, somebody's just being boisterous, or they're just being like, you have to listen to me, this and that, or whatever. I mean, okay, well, you can be right. That's one of the chapters in the in the 21 days of motivation, like, being righteous versus being right. Like, you have the right to be right. Like, they can be right. I'm gonna be righteous. Righteous is right legal standing. Right just means that you gotta win. If you want to win, then win. If you want to be right and be powerful, like, be powerful. But I'm gonna be righteous. At the end of the day, righteousness is more important than right. So, you're gonna have people that are gonna do stuff. You give them the word, you say what it says, you tell them the belief system, you show them who the Most High is, you give them as much as you can, and you're honorable. like we talk about with sovereignty, be honorable even when they're dishonorable, because that's really what counts. You're giving them an example. Minister Nine said in prayer today, I forget. Well, I don't want to talk about who she was praying for anyway, so maybe that's why the Most High is taking it out of my memory. However, um, or the Vakakodash specifically, but you know that the word should be sweet. You give it to them sweet. If they don't taste it and see for themselves, then that's fine. And even if they taste it, it might be bitter to them at that moment. But bitter is what, like something. Remember when um, the in Revelation chapter 10, when John receives the book and he eats it, he says it was sweet, but then it was like bitter to his stomach. Well, bitterness means that it's cleaning parasites. Sweet means that it has a great taste, right? And sweet can also have benefits as well, right? Things that are sweet. So basically, like, if it's something that's bitter to somebody and makes them freak out, remember, a lot of people are emotional in this because their beliefs are attached to this, because their life, they've been involved in a culture. This culture says that they have to be right. Like, this Jesus thing better be right. This Bible thing, it has to be what I've been told it is. My grandmama believed in this. Her grandmama believed in this. How dare you tell me? We just we do this and do that. How dare you say that we might be shucking and jiving? How dare you say that we're not using the correct name? How dare you say that I don't know history? I went to school. I went to the. If you start going to somebody who's being abrasive or starts, yelling and cussing and doing all that, okay, I mean, what more can you do, right? But I think it's more so just reminding yourself that that's going to happen, right? Truth is something that causes separation. If you tell the truth, people are going to do things. Yeah, bitter is, yeah. Thanks, babe. My wife was saying bitter is taste is great for digestion. In herbalism, right? Like it's great for digestion. It's going to help you with parasites. It's going to do a lot of things. So if you give them something and it's bitter to them and they start acting bitter, they start giving you weird faces. They start not liking it. You know what? It's okay. Like, they're digesting it. Even if they don't like it, they still are digesting it. Right. So if you're trying to go off of the Israelite calendar, the Hebrew calendar, and you're trying to see about where the moon is or whatever, technically you can go if we were doing it like as and there's some argument that will come against this. So this is something where this is just my belief based off of what I've read, off of what we do, off of the calendar we use, etc. Um, when the new moon comes, basically you could say like that's when the new Rishon is, or Rishon, or or I think they say Rishon in modern Hebrew or something, but the new Rishon, the new moon, the first day of the week, technically starts over again. It's not like today's calendar where it's like every day is, you know, it's Monday through, or I'm sorry, it's Monday through Sunday no matter what, or people who are in the sun worship, Sunday through Saturday no matter what. But it's actually um, Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, people who were in the sun worship, they made it Monday through Sunday, but it used to be Sunday through Saturday, whatever it is. It's not that. It's like basically whenever you get to the next day or the new moon, you kind of technically supposed to start over again. And even days in the year, it depends on the year, because depending on what the holy days look like, depending on what we're supposed to execute in, things like that, you could have a year that has as low as 300 and forgive me, I'm gonna say, I feel like I'm about to say the wrong thing. I think it's as low as 353 days, all the way up to 380 something, 386, depending on the year. But because we're in the land of our captivity, it's not really something that we can keep up per se, because you still got to go for somebody else's stuff, because you'd have to stop doing things in the neighborhood would have to stop for you to be able to execute it correctly, even if you knew which day it was. Each day causes something there. So because of that, we're not in a place of where we can even execute that thoroughly, which is why I don't press it. But yeah, if you're dealing with that, that's a whole can of worms. I think it's great if you want to do some study and some research, because it'll help you to see some things culturally, and it'll help you to place some things in the Bible that you probably can't place right now. So I would suggest, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, since it seems like you already have, continue down, and you'll find some great things in there. Try your best to see as much stuff as you can that's ancient rather than modern, because as far as the interpretations of it, because you're going to see a lot of stuff that's going to be very weird in there. But I think you got enough in you that'll allow you to be able to do that well. Numa says, you end the conversation with let you be you, let me be me, and bless Bless you, brother and sister. Yeah. Yeah, let them with the ear hear, right? So recognize once again, not everybody has an ear. We talked about, was that yesterday that the Holy Spirit brought up, and she said, you have to be in a position. Am I Jamaican? I have Jamaican people in my family, so yeah, I guess you would say so. Yeah, I'm Taino, Jamaican through my, even though Jamaica's not a well. Anyways, I won't get into all that. Yes, my paternal, or sorry, my maternal, through my maternal grandmother, I am on that side of the family. I am have a lot. I'm mixed with a lot of different things, but yeah. So, but yeah, you have to recognize that all of those things are going on. You have to recognize that there's a lot to it, and there's a lot more to it than probably we would ever even imagine or think about, right? So we have to be aware of those things and what's going on. But yeah, so when you're dealing with that, a lot of people are not going to be able to hear anyways, because once again, it's cultural, right? Like if I say Yashua, even people who are not believers in Jesus, they're going to say, why are you saying Yashua and not Yeshua? Why are you not saying Yahushua? Why are you not saying Yahawashai? Right? So that's why you'll just hear me a lot of times when people come on and say that, I'll just say what they say. Like I'm not having to be right, I'll be righteous. Like if you say Yahawashai, okay, I'll be like, okay, well, we believe in Yahawashai, cool. So now that Yahawashai said that, you know, let's deal with what he actually said. Let's get out of that argument. Like I know you think that I'm just coming up with this stuff randomly, but and this is why the discipleship, the discipline. See, you got to be disciplined to do that. And if you're not disciplined in righteousness, then you're gonna be all over the place. One of the things, look, I'm not saying that you can't, but look, you can't be talking about you gonna preach and then sitting there saying, you know what, I don't got deal with nobody who does blah blah this and that or whatever. Well, then you can't preach. That's discipline. That's like you can't don't say that I had to learn. I had to learn this, right? I'm used to be the dude that was quick to fight. And by the way, there are times that I will go back and forth with people, and that's undisciplined. And I have to ask for forgiveness when I do. But even when I'm doing a lot of the stuff you guys might think, I'll tell you guys right after, when you pay attention, if somebody's going back and forth or saying things that aren't right or making fun of us. How you doing, Brother Cole? Sorry for missing you. And doing all these different things. Like you'll hear me say, see, this is a proof of blah blah blah. You see what? Why? Because even in the midst of what people thought, oh, they're getting into blah blah. No, I never got out of pocket. I never left what we were talking about. I never stopped talking about what the topic was. You know what I'm saying? So you have to like be disciplined. Be disciplined. How do you love your enemy if you're not disciplined? See, a lot of that comes from place. We just say stuff that don't make sense in the kingdom. I show love to people that show love to me. Well, Luke chapter 6 says, well, if you can only show love to people that show love to you, if you can only show love to your children, if you can only show love to people that make you feel comfortable, then you're no better than the people you say you hate, because even the people you hate can do that. Right? Exactly. We got to refuse to be on their level. And so even the people you hate, the publicans, the Republicans, the Democrats, the communists, the Marxists, the white supremacists, the nationalists, the whatever you want to say out here, they do that too. So what makes you better than them? That's why discipline. See, we think that loving our children, we think that, and by the way, love is actions of the Most High. But you think that because you feed your children, you're better than somebody else. But it's like, yo, they feed their children too. That's why their children are alive. you know, that's why it says in Luke chapter 6, man, if you think you're better than them, you ain't better than them. Because right after that, it says, look, man, you got to recognize that on the level that you judge others is the level you'll be judged. And the level you condemn others is the level you'll be condemned. On the level that you forgive others is a level you'll be forgiven. That's why the next verse says, give and it shall be given unto thee, Elohim's measure, or constitutional. That word good, Elohim's constitution, that's really what it says. When you see good is really a Germanic deity. They put that in place there to say anything that's good is God, because anything that's of their gods was constitutional for them. So what it's saying for you is Elohim's constitution. So His constitutional measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. With the same measure that you meet, that you give out legally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, etc., it has to be given unto thee. The same level that you give out has got to be given unto thee. That's how law works, because that's natural law. That's kingdom law. And hello, Mo Desire, how you doing? That's kingdom law. That's how that works. Whatever you give, it shall be given unto thee. So if you can only give love to those that always give love to you, then you're not really going, right? But love doesn't mean you're a doormat either. Hallelujah. Right? Hallelujah. I'm not a doormat. Don't get it twisted. I'll listen, I'll do this, right? And I'll even listen to people. Look, people can cuss at me, do whatever. They can call me out my name, all that, and I'll listen for a little bit. But after a while, you're gonna find out. There's a level where you're gonna find out quick that I'm not a doormat. Give, and whatever I give out, it shall be given unto me. So even in discipline, so discipline means that I gotta be disciplined to love people that don't love me, but I also mean discipline means that I have to be able to love people. Right? Hear what I'm saying? Discipline also means that I have to be able to love people in a manner in which sometimes I have boundaries. I have a hit that comes up, right? To be able to protect myself, to be able to protect what's going on in the womb, so to speak, that acham, right? That we just talked about earlier, right? Acham, even. I have to be willing to make sure that I can protect that. Thank you for being part of the community, Tulip Blossom, right? You got to, so discipline. You know, people always talking about being disciplined. Where is your discipline? We supposed to be fasting today. Are you disciplined? We supposed to be fasting from 6 p.m. last night. And by the way, that's the reason why we fast. Well, first of all, because it's the evening to the rising, right? So it's 6 to 6. But the reason why we fast from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. is because even if you think natural law, well, guess what? Even if you're doing intermittent fasting, you eat later in the evening. You give your body a few hours to be able to digest, 2 hours at the least, to be able to digest whatever you ate. You're gonna have a bowel movement and everything. You go to sleep. Your body actually rests because it doesn't have food. It's still trying to digest and get rid of. You wake up in the rising. Your body will probably get rid of food and stuff again. Then you're able to focus, carry out on what you want to do. Your body is not being filled up. Now here you go eating again late in the evening. If you were to continue that process every day, right, you would have health. And you don't have to look skinny to have health, but you would be healthier. Amen. Praise God for the fasting, right? But we're talking about discipline and even being a disciple. Even being a disciple, you got to be disciplined because you got to eat this word. Yeah, see, you got to eat this word. It's all right, Empress. We're not here to judge. We're not asking everybody to put something on the table. I'm just saying we got to be disciplined, and it's all right. Don't have anything else. Fry ain't gonna kill you, you know. But we want to be disciplined, right? We want to be disciplined. We want to be in a place, in a position to where we're disciplined. You got to eat this word. See, just like your natural eating habits, we're trying to teach natural eating habits because eventually we got to learn what spiritual eating habits. But technically, it should be the other way around. We want to teach spiritual eating habits because eventually we got to teach natural eating habits. If you can't eat spiritually correctly, there's no way you're going to eat physically correctly. Right? You got to be disciplined to eat this word. And that's one of the things that's going on is that taste and see that that Adon is, or Yahweh is constitutional, that he is good, that he is great, that he is marvelous. Well, then you got to be disciplined, because what happens if somebody's trying to look at your life and they see that that's the moment, that's the second that you decided to not be disciplined, and they taste that and they get some garbage? What if they taste it and it's not constitutional, it's not good, but it gets them high, right? What if they get a sugar rush off of what you teach? Thanks for the love, Ransom. A lot of people come to the assemblies, to the churches, whatever, they get sugar highs, right? They get to Baptist two-step. They get all that, right? Like they come, they get high, they get emotional. And nothing wrong with being emotional, but I'm saying a lot of services are not designed to give you what is good or what is constitutional or something that's going to feed your spirit correctly. They give you something that gives you a sugar high. You go to a fast food restaurant, and that's what people treat it as. I'm trying to check in and do my 2 hours and leave out. Right? That's all it is. Even if I stay in church all day today, comprehend like the rest of my week, I'm not doing this. So I'm coming here to get my check-in, to get my fix, and to be able to feel like, okay, I checked off a box, so I should be good. And that's what people say. Like people do that all the time. People say that I'm coming in here for my weekly checkup, but it should be a daily checkup. Why do we have weekly checkups in the spirit? You said it's been said that Jehovah's Witnesses don't go in. I don't know. You talking about don't go in as far as they don't hoop or stuff, or don't go into certain places? I'm sorry, I missed where I was talking about. Right? Like you can be emotional. We should deal with the emotions. Emotions are real, and people should be excited. Oh, churches because of the steeple. Yeah, I mean, it could be that. I was Jehovah's Witness. We didn't go just because we didn't think it was the truth. Come to find out that there's a lot of stuff that when you learn about Russellites and where they come from and stuff, and a lot of the end of the world doctrines and things like that go on, and you find out, yeah, it's not righteous either. So, but yeah, but it you have to recognize like that a lot of people are getting fed fast food. And once you get fast food, you go back to fast food not because it's healthy, it's just because your body says, I need that high again. I need the fix. And you can't wait for them to come out with the next value meal or the next new thing, or for them to bring back, what are these things called? I can't remember, the McRib or the mushroom Swiss or the I don't know. They got something new now at Chipotle. Right. And now they got the cheese. They got like straight up fake cheese that they give you and all this stuff. But they're doing these things because they know that you are going back for a high. You're not going back because, they have the best guacamole. You're going back because they got all the stuff that gets you high. Matter of fact, we say the food is too plain if it's not seasoned to make it sweet. Right. Or if it's not salty enough. Where's the salt? Now, we should have salt. Your body needs salt. Right. But there's levels to this. you know. But we do the same thing. We're going, when you go to a fast food restaurant, it's guaranteed you're going to get fat, right? You're going to get a bunch of meat. You're going to get oil, right? And you're going to get sugar, guaranteed. That's why every meal is going to have sugary drink, fatty meat, and 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 salty fries. If it's not salty fries, they might give you salty chips, right? Even if it's not meat, and they give you the what is it, like the Impossible Whopper or something like that, whatever the stuff is. Then when they give you that, guess what? They're still going to cook it on the same grill, and they're still going to put a lot of things that are in there. The only thing they're not going to give you is the meat. So they're still going to give you fats and things like that. It's just not going to be meat. But it's the same thing when you go to a lot of these assemblies, a lot of these churches, whatever. Guess what you're going to find? You're going to find stuff that's going to deal with salt, right? People that are salty, and it's okay. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna work this. I'm gonna get this salt in, right? And you're gonna find sweetness. Oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna be sweet at the same time, right? We're gonna be salty at the devil now. So I can be salty, but I'm salty at the devil. I'm stepping on his head. I'm gonna be sweet now. I can be sweet in here, even though when I leave here, I'm gonna go right back to being salty. But I'm gonna get my sweetness out, because you need to be sweet. Even if you're a cantankerous individual, you still need to be sweet. It's in you. You got to have some kind of sweet. So okay, I feel the sweetness of this song. I feel the sweetness of this music. I feel the sweetness of this and that or whatever. And then they're going to give you some grease. Grease, by the way, fat and grease, that's what people eat when they feel like they're not loved. It is our pleasure, Kristen. Right? That's what people eat when they're not loved. When somebody's not loved, they eat grease. Mm-hmm. Hold on one second. What, this? You just coming out? Okay. Hold on, my son wouldn't have come outside and say hello to me. He's up. You wanna sit out here? Or you just coming to say hi? It's over there. Are you gonna play? You want to play?
Or
I'm asking you what you doing. What you want? What are you doing? You want to sit? You don't want to bring that over there?
Oh, this is hard.
Yeah, just pick the whole thing up. Watch it. Oh, okay. I get. Let me help you. Let me help you. Go ahead. You bring that part. I'll bring this part. Come here first. I didn't get a hug. How you doing? You all right?
Yes, good.
Okay. All right. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. There you go. Kind of low, but they can see. Here you go. Let me see you over on this one. Okay. They can see you on this one. All right. Okay. All righty. You all right? Sleepy? Let me see. You were feeling a little cold last night, right?
Yeah.
You feeling better? Okay. All right. So yeah. So so these are the things that we have to look at. I don't remember where I was at. Where was I at? Where was I at? Oh yeah. So yeah, when we're looking at this, and they give you this fast food mentality, right? And when you get the fast food mentality, that's really what's going on, is that we're pretty much dealing with the fast food thing. I come in, I check in, I get something real quick, and then that's it. I come in, I get something real quick, and that's it. And we have to realize that there's more to it, and that's why the discipline is important. That's why the discipline is extremely important for us to be able to get. And you see, you see that? What's it say?
Hi, Solomon.
What's this one say?
Solomon.
Hello.
Hello, Solomon.
And shalom, Solomon.
Shalom.
Yeah, people are saying hello to you. See, we got four. We got a bunch of them going on at the same time. So it's hard. That's why I gotta go back and forth like this. Yeah, but that sugar high, yeah, the sugar high statement is real, right? The sugar high statement is very real, and we have to recognize, that a lot of us are going through these things, and getting sugar high, and we have to be able to eat the things correctly that we're supposed to eat. If we're eating unhealthy, then we get unhealthy results. Like even Mr. Solomon here, he might not like vegetables all the time.
I like cucumber.
But you like cucumbers? Okay. Sir, if you come before the camera, you got to make sure that all the stuff is off your face. Right? But he likes cucumbers and everything, but you got to eat even things you don't like sometimes, right? Why? Why do you think you got to eat things you don't like sometimes?
Because we have to do what we have to do.
You have to do what you have to do. And why do you have to do it? Is it because it's something that makes you feel healthy? Right. And so there's things in the spirit that you have to do too, right? Like you don't always feel like praying, right? Which, by the way, did you say your prayer yet? Say your prayer real quick. You don't have to say it out loud. Just say your prayer. Okay. But we have to we have to be disciplined, and even little things like this is discipline. You have to make sure that we're disciplined, and we haven't passed on discipline for generations either. And that's a big piece of some of this stuff. Is like we're missing a lot of stuff that's supposed to be passed down as far as discipline. Cole said it's common to hear, I gotta get recharged at church, missing the depth of real relationship with Yahweh. Yeah. You said I really have to slow down and read before I hit sin. No, I got you. Um, you know, but well, he's on YouTube and he's on Facebook the way it's pressed. But mom says she wants to come on TikTok real quick.
TikTok.
This one, just you say hi, mom.
Hi, mom.
Yeah. So TikTok, he can come in and out of. It's weird. They say on TikTok, if you're too young, then you can't have a live. So sometimes people get kicked off the live because youth come on, but I don't know exactly how it does. What'd she say? You see what
Hey,
she's.
Solomon.
There you go. Right. So you see how we read back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you read the questions. He's in training too, because once he hits 7, she's about to turn 7. When do you turn 7?
In June 18th.
On when?
June 18th.
June 18th. Yeah. So, or June 18th, he turns 7. So, from ages 7 to 9, he becomes apprentice. So you'll be seeing a lot more of him. He said he's ready for it. So we'll see. We'll see. That means you got to be up, up. Hmm. So we'll see. But yeah. So these are things that we should be presenting, we should be teaching, we should be growing in, and a lot of us don't have any um, comprehension of. We don't have any thought process of it. Nobody really shows it to us. Nobody really helps us in that endeavor, right? And in being disciplined, and being somebody who's speaking on great things, and on like our children are going to be the people that take us to the next level. They're going to be the people that take us to the next generation. Um, our children are going to be the ones to help us to succeed. And so discipline is something, and all the other things that we're teaching, what about the discipline? We teach guys about having sex, but we don't even teach discipline in the sex. We teach, like, we don't teach that sex is marriage and marriage is sex. So until you're married, there is no such thing as sex. Like, you develop yourself, develop who you are. Um, okay, Sister Sharice said June 18th is her father and big brother's born day too.
Oh, June 18th?
Sister Sharice, you met her when we went down to when we met up in South Carolina. You might not remember her though.
No.
She had on the rainbow outfit, I think, but you were busy playing. You met her. She came down with Sister Betty, who you played with sticks and everything.
Oh.
But yeah, so, but these are things that we don't teach. We teach a lot of the stuff, but we don't teach. We don't make sure that we teach the discipline piece. And you got to be disciplined to do what we do. You got to be disciplined. Once again, don't get up talking about you gonna preach, but you ain't disciplined enough to be able to deal with somebody that doesn't like you. Right? Like, here's the deal: we like to do things when it doesn't require. How you doing, Sister Lori? We like to do things when it does not require. When it doesn't require discipline, if I can just say it like that. We love to do things when it does not require us to be disciplined, when there is no accountability, when we will not be challenged. For example, people love to preach in church. It's a controlled environment. Nobody's going to say anything, this, that, or whatever. What if you had to preach on the street? I preached in a boxing ring before, in between boxing matches, with people that really didn't want to hear what I had to say. Had to figure out, with the help of the Holy Spirit, how to put together a message and read the room and be able to give something that would be able to stick with people for generations to come. you know, we like to do things from non-controlled environments. Yeah, that's Sister Lori. Sister Lori. Yeah, who said hello? Yeah. So we like to do things from a place where we don't have to be, you know, um, disciplined. We love to do things where we don't have to do, as Solomon said earlier, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Right. That's what you said. And sometimes we don't like that, but you still have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to figure a way. We have to be disciplined. We have to be disciples, and we have to have somebody to learn from. Right. Like, who do you learn from? Solomon?
My mom and me.
Mom and I.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And when you learn from us, do you do the things that we tell you to do?
Probably a little
Probably
bit.
a little bit. That wasn't the answer I was expecting, but it's a truthful answer. I didn't know what he was going to do with that. Okay, all right, but when you do what we ask you to do, you get results that help, right? Right. You know, and do you think we teach? Why do you think we teach you?
Because
You don't have to give me what you think I want to hear, but just honestly, why do you think we teach you? You don't know? We teach you because we love you, first of all. And love is an action, right? So we love you by teaching you, but then we also teach you because we want you to know the truth.
The truth.
Mm-hmm. Like for example, where is Kemet?
In the sand.
Yeah, what continent is Kemet on?
Huh?
Continent, not country.
Continent.
What continent is Kemet? See, you coming on here? I'm giving you the easy ones. You messing with the easy one.
Um.
Where's Kemet?
Probably
Egypt. You know what Kemet is
it's in Africa.
in Africa, right? So how do you know how many children don't know that Kemet is the actual name of Egypt? A lot of them don't know that. So they're gonna go out and do stuff, and somebody's gonna tell them they don't know that chemistry is what mom does, right? When she puts the plants together, and when we grow our hair out, and we listen to the Most High, and we study our people. A lot of people don't know that that's actually Kemet or chemistry. That's part of it. So because we love you, we want you to have that. We'll teach you about Egypt too, and we'll teach you about Africa too, but we want you to know about Kemet, right? There's a lot of 6-year-olds that don't know how to read at all or read well, but you can read it well enough where you can see what's on here, right? You know, a lot of people don't know how many characters are in the Hebrew alphabet.
What?
How many characters are in the Hebrew alphabet? I know you're tired, but work with me.
22.
All right, 22. A lot of people don't even know there's a such thing as an alphabet, and 22, and then Aleph and Bet and Gimon, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zion. I don't know how many else. You think up to Yod, right? But a lot of people don't know that at all, and we were supposed to know that when we were your age. So because we love you and want you to do better than us, we teach you those things now, and so that you can start teaching when you turn 7. And you come on and you do your channel. You know what you're gonna do on your channel. We're not gonna do just only when you're going around places. Guess what? Sometimes you're gonna do what I'm doing here. So we're gonna invite the children to be able to come on and listen to you, and we're gonna talk about stuff on your channel sometimes too. So, we're trying to do stuff that we're doing now. We're just learning about. We want you to be able to do those things at a higher level, at a greater level, and we want other people to be able to come on. Hey, how you doing, Palo Santo? Sorry for not catching you. I don't know how long you've been on, right? But we do those things to teach, and we do those things to hold you accountable. And the word accountable, it means to count for something. So like we're trying to see what you. So like if I say Solomon, pick something up off the floor, then I come back and I check, right? Because I want to see if you did what I said. So it's the same thing. That's why you get homework assignments and your stuff you do online and stuff you do with Shifu for Kung Fu and all that. And they give you homework assignments. That's so that they can see, are you practicing every day? So that tomorrow when you have Kung Fu, they want to see if you still can do your steps and stuff. You okay?
Mm-hmm.
You sleepy?
No,
You want to do something else or you just tired?
I'm this tired.
Okay. Yeah. But like these are things that we have to be about. By the way, if there's any other questions, this is Q&A. This is the Q&A session. When we go back in, we'll still have Q&A like we do, but there's a chance. Okay, Sister Lori, I thought that's my bad. I guess I was supposed to send you the the itinerary. So that's on me. I'll try and send you the itinerary as soon as we finish the line. If I didn't send it to you already, so that's my bad. Um, so yeah. And by the way, for everybody, we're planning on being in Chicago 27th, 28th. We're planning on being in Detroit 29th and 30th. Um, Excuse me, the 29th and the 30th is 29th, 30th to 29th. We may or may not be available that evening because of the time we'll be coming in. But the 30th for sure we'll be meeting up. But we got all that on the itinerary for everybody. So if you're interested in coming out, whether you're in those areas or you feel like just coming out and saying hello, we'll be over there on those dates. So we look forward to talking to you guys then, those who are coming out then. And yeah, Actually, we should have your email, Sister Lori, but we got you a messenger too, so we'll make sure that we send it to you. We'll take care of it. I'll take care of it personally. I'll make sure it's done. Um, so yeah. So any other questions, comments, or concerns before we? I mean, I don't know. We might wrap up early, or might go into something else. But we're trying to open this up for today, for you guys. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, if you'd like to know something about our belief system, frequently asked questions is the name of the series. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else. I guess we Mr. Solomon came over here and stole the show. Everybody's excited to see you, sir. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure you drink a lot of water today, okay?
Okay.
But will we study Enoch? Yeah, still working on Enoch. Enoch is a series, still working on the cartoon series, part of it, still working on a bunch of stuff. But yeah, Enoch, we're going to make sure that we go through it because Enoch, we got to deal with a bunch of stuff that's not necessarily written or versions that are written, just like there's versions of the Bible, there's versions of Enoch. We got to figure out, how much is there. So there are certain things that are there. And then Enoch is something that people want to go through a lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to go by chapter, verse by verse, because Enoch is. We might even do some of it on Patreon first, just for me to kind of get my bearings about me, because Enoch is you're dealing with technically hundreds of chapters. If you get into like the whole thing of Enoch, but some of it's not even necessarily real either, and stuff that we think is in there. So um, it's gonna be a series to where it's gonna be a lot of if well I read this, well I've read this from somebody, this person told me blah blah this and that or whatever. So I'm kind of just gearing up. But yeah, we haven't forgotten about Enoch. We haven't forgotten about a lot of things that are on the list. Matter of fact, Enoch will pop up in this series because that's a frequently asked question. So we will talk about Enoch, even though it won't be the series of Enoch, but we will probably have at least a couple sessions that deal with certain specific things out of Enoch, especially when it comes to Noah, or if it comes to the tide of the Chronicles of Noah, or if it comes to where do quote white people unquote come from, stuff like that. Like there's a lot in there, and we have to be careful because there's a lot of stuff that's already been spoken that doesn't necessarily come from there. Lori said, "Is there a link for classes?" Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you got both of those. Well, okay. So I will make sure that you get that, and I'll make sure that you get the different things that are coming up for this semester. I'm sorry, Laura. We got you behind on everything. Okay, and that's why I'm glad we're getting this stuff together. So, but yeah, we sent out a. I'm pretty sure we had your email. I just for some reason I guess it didn't pop up, but we sent out the class schedule or the form for the class. But you'll get both of them either via your email or messenger right after. Um, so you said, why is there no penalty when people do evil? My question would be, what do you mean no penalty? I guess the question really comes from, if somebody does something, why can somebody get off, or why doesn't Yahweh strike them down right then? Um, right, but I guess if something doesn't happen right now, why didn't it happen right now? Like if somebody took the lives of people in Buffalo, why isn't that person getting struck down right now? Right, um, and really there are consequences that come with it. Um, there's going to be some extreme consequences that come with it, whether it's before or after. But there is a place called hell, and there are consequences. We might not like it. Like for example, I'm
Hell,
not. I'm sorry.
hell is a bad place.
Yeah, hell is a bad place, and if people do wrong and they don't ask for forgiveness and start living right before they die, then they can go to hell. And even if they go to hell, there's a second death, so they get a chance even when everybody goes to heaven and stuff at the end of times. In the end times, they'll get another chance. Even the people that are in hell, they get a chance one more time to be able to ask for forgiveness, right? But sometimes people get frustrated and they're mad because, like, let's say somebody punches somebody in the face. Like, let's say we went to the blue playground and somebody punched somebody in the face over there, and somebody would be mad. Like, if one boy punched another boy in the face, and that boy might want the parent to give him a spanking, but let's say the parent doesn't give him a spanking, that boy might get angry, right? But if that doesn't mean that when the boy that punched the boy in the face, when he goes home, his parents still might give him a spanking. You just don't see it, right? And I think sometimes we get frustrated because we're like, the consequences that we want don't happen when we want them to, but it doesn't mean that you can't keep playing. It doesn't mean that you ever have to play with that boy again. It doesn't mean that you don't have to. It doesn't mean that you have to be nice to them. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't ask you for forgiveness. It doesn't mean that you don't forgive them. Even if you don't play with them, you still forgive them, right? Right. Out of your prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and our forgive us our
That's
as we forgive our
debtors.
right. So yeah. So when we do that, like we forgive them, let it go, and Yahweh's going to come, and He's going to take care of things. He's going to come, and He's going to take care of things for us. So we don't concern ourselves with that. But I get the question because a lot of people are like, stuff now, this, that, or whatever. Now there might be times where we should make sure we protect ourselves and things. I'm not saying any of that, and we should make sure that we comprehend that people are there against us, or that we recognize that we need to protect ourselves, that we need to do things. And sometimes the consequence might be, hey, like if I'm out somewhere and somebody tries to mess with Solomon, right? The consequence will probably be that I'm gonna get you. You're gonna get these hands, bare minimum, right? That might be the consequence right then and there, right? But you know we I think that sometimes it's like, why do bad things not happen to bad people? Because for example, somebody goes like let me say this. I know I'm all over the place. I'm trying to make this work out on different levels today. Um, if if first of all, we said there's no penalty. Like I think I was talking about Emmett Till. Emmett Till's um, murderers are dealing with consequences whether we saw them or not. One in particular, the woman who's still alive, whatever her name is, um, she can't go anywhere without people saying you're the one that killed Emmett Till. As much as people say that's not good enough and she should be jailed, this and that or whatever, I want you to comprehend that that's hell, and she still got to deal with the Most High afterwards. I don't know if she's asked for forgiveness or not, but that's why I don't have a heaven or hell to send anybody in. Right? I don't have one, so I don't worry about it. That my that's not something that's part of my um thought process, as far as like, can what I want happen to them. Because there's a lot of people, if that's the case, a lot of people would have got choked out by now if I just keep it 100. I know I'm pastors supposedly are supposed to speak like that, but there's a lot of cats that would have got not only these hands but probably wouldn't be around. uh, you know, if it was up to me, because of some of the stuff they've done. There's people that have done stuff and I've gone looking for them after the fact, and there's things where people have done stuff and my wife tells me about it, but she won't tell me where exactly it happened, because she and what they look like and stuff, because she's gonna go looking for them, right? And praise God for that. That's not necessarily even mature. It's part of me wanting to be secure in my family, but it's not necessarily mature. So I'll admit that. Pray for me about that, right? Um, However, like we still have a situation where we kind of go like, oh yeah, I want this thing to happen just like that. It is like, when Yah comes with the punishment is something that's way more than you can ever done. Like there's punishment I've received for stuff that people probably wanted me to get this, or probably got mad at me for this or that. There's things that have happened in my life that when I look back, man, like they were some of the hardest times, and they came from punishments and stuff, and people don't even know that I went through it. Hmm?
It's a nest.
Oh, a bird's nest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I see it. I see it. Yeah, I'm just being real. All right, Sister Rhonda, you have a blessed one as well. You said, is there a preset for Luke 22:36? Wow, I should know Luke 22:36. Isn't Luke 22:31 and 32 where he says, Simon, Simon, behold, the devil desires to have you to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for thee that your faith fail thee not, and when thou art converted, strengthen the brethren. So I should know. I don't know. Luke 22. Yep. So then 33 says, and he said unto him, oh, okay, Lord, or Adam, I am ready. I am ready. You want to try and read this part?
Yes. I
No, okay, right here in verse
am
33. And? You got to say it loud now so that people can.
said
He said,
he said
"That's unto
until
him."
him, Lord, I I am ready to go with
That's
tree
the. Yeah, they put an extra e on there. It's the both
both
into
in
prison
him and to death.
and to death. Right. So he said, and he said unto him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee both into prison and to death. And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. And he said unto them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, nothing. So the precept, I guess you're asking about that. So we see this in the midst of what's going on, right? Well, let me read verse 36 as well, right? That's where we're going. And then said he unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip, and he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Right? For I say unto you, this is the next verse after, right? We should all read a little before and a little after. So right after it says, for I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerned me have an end. So we have it in our mind that everybody just took off and left Yahshua and wasn't willing to fight. But he had told them, basically, like, so he said, look, Simon, Simon, behold, the devil desires to have you.
Bluetooth.
Um this is after Yahshua has, said, who do men say that I am? They were like, some say you're Elijah, some say that you're, John the Baptist reborn and stuff. And he said, well, who do you say that I am? And everybody was quiet except for Peter. Or right, and it was Simon, really, right? Because Simon means leafy. Peter means like solid small stone. So whenever Simon did something that was whack, he would call him leafy Simon. Whenever he said something that was like strong and powerful, he would call him Peter, right? He would call him Peter, right? So he says, you know, so basically, he tells him that Simon, Simon. So that's leafy when you're at your least, you know, um, right after that conversation where he says, "You are the Christ."
I see you.
Okay, and he says that the Holy Spirit is something that that revealed this to you. Now he says, Simon, Simon. So at your weakest point, he says, behold, the devil desires to have you, that he might sift you as wheat. Right? He desires to have you that he might what? That he might sift you as wheat. But I prayed for thee that your faith wouldn't fail, and when you are converted, when you finally get this, strengthen the brethren. Right? And then Peter, right after that, says, hey man, I'm willing to go to death. Let's go right now. Ain't nobody got your back like I got it. Yashvat, right? He's like, nobody has a back, right? Your back like I have it. And he says, well, look, man. He says there's going to come a time coming up where you saying all that, but I need you to humble yourself, because there's going to come a time where you saying all this, and then they're going to ask you if you walk with me, and you're going to deny me 3 times, right before the cock crows, which we know happened, right? Then after that, it says that he said, when I sent you without purse. So when I sent you, remember, he sent them out 2 by 2, right? And other times he's done things similar to that, but he sent them out 2 by 2 in that specific thought process. Um, okay, Sister Lori. Well, I'll take care of it through Messenger with you after the live. I promise. I got you. So he says, I'll send you out 2 by 2. And he says, don't worry about your money. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry about these things. He said, you can go over people's homes, right? Like Solomon, when we gone on the road and people have like allowed us to be able to come in and say hello in their homes and stuff. Yeah, Yahweh said, sends us out like that. He says we don't have to worry about those things. He's going to take care of us. So he said, don't worry about those things. I'm going to take care of all these things. You just do what you're supposed to do. But he says now it's coming up to where he said you guys didn't lack for anything. People took care of you and everything. Now all of a sudden he says, but now it's coming a time where take the purse this time. So take your money, and take your script, take the things that I told you to write, like, that I've given you before. Hey man, the Holy Spirit gonna tell you everything. Now look, all these things I've been telling you, take them with you, be ready to use them. Take them with you, be ready to use them. And then he says, you know, and he that hath no sword, right? If you ain't ready to fight, because things about to get real, this things about to get real. So if you don't have a sword, what does he say? He says, sell your garment, right, and buy one. Like your garment, your sword, the word for us, but even your weapons. See, people, and that's the precept. Right, even your weapons, be ready to protect yourself. It's coming a time that we're standing up for Yah's word better mean that you are ready to fight. I'm not saying be ready to kill. I'm saying be ready to fight, be ready to defend yourself, even with the word, or if you need to do otherwise. He told him, right? Because Peter said, I'm gonna walk with you with everything. He said, look, man, you about to deny me. You don't comprehend how crazy this is about to get. That's what he's saying. You don't recognize how wild this is about to get. Right? He said you don't recognize what this is about to become. We don't recognize. And if you're on, is this Dino or whatever? If you're on Dino, if you can just put in the comment section that you actually like to talk, then we can consider it if you're talking about something specific with what we're talking about today, right? But he said you don't. He said you don't recognize what's really coming, Peter. He desires to have you that he might sift you as wheat. You ain't converted. You think just because you got one thing right, the Holy Spirit revealed it to you, but you ain't all the way there yet, right? He said you ain't all the way there yet. You ain't all the way there yet. I'm telling you, you ain't all the way there yet. But be ready because this thing's coming, and be ready even if you need to sell your clothes to be able to make sure you got a sword because this thing's about to get crazy. That's what he said. Verse 37, for I say unto you that it is written that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors. So the transgressors are the ones who made this stuff happen. For the things concerning me have an end. Verse 38. We'll leave it there. Well, actually, no, we'll just leave it at verse 37. Right. So it literally says like it's getting to a place where if you're gonna walk in truth. Now I'm not saying walk in violence. I'm saying walk in truth. Because some people don't get violent without truth. Truth is the most important. But it said that's the precept, if you will. That's the environment. You said your scripture, your question is from scripture saying we should be able to buy protection and protect our family. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with is even in that. And remember, what is Peter going to do when they're met in the Garden of Gethsemane? He reaches for the sword. Now Yahshua says you reaching for the sword for the wrong reason. He didn't say it was wrong to use the sword. Right? He didn't say it was wrong to use the sword, but you got a sword. He didn't say it was wrong to use the sword. Right? He said that I'm supposed to die. He said I'm supposed to die. He said, but you need to now recognize that when I'm dying, when people are coming after me and things like that, you said you got to recognize now comes a time. Remember, he's told them that there's going to come a time where they're going to be scattered and stuff. They asked him about that in Matthew chapter 13. This is not a random thing. Hello, Clinton. How you on? Everybody's saying you did a great job reading earlier. And I know I had you far away from the words. You actually would have done a lot better. I had the screen far away. It says, sell your clothes if sword means knowledge, so give back what you know for new knowledge. I mean, yeah, or that, but talking about defending yourself with a sword. So whether we're talking about the sword in Ephesians chapter 6, Solomon, please don't hit me in the face with it. Be careful with it. Right? We're talking about knowledge of the word. Or we're talking about a physical sword. Let's see. So what does it mean when the scripture says in the violent take it by force? So yeah, so the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. Suffereth means continue to suffer violence. So people who come against the kingdom suffers violence every day. Now we can speak spiritually or physically, right? Are people is Israel a people who have suffered violence physically? Deuteronomy 28 is that stuff that's actually happened. Have our women had things violently taken from them? Right? There's a lot. Solomon, I need you to be careful with that. You almost hit me in the face again. If not, if you want to play with the sword, play over there. I don't care. No, if you want to play with it, just like stand behind. You can still be close. But you almost hit me in the eyes a couple times. You know. But it's I mean, I was saying you could be right here. You don't have to go. You want to be all the way over there? Okay, it's up to you. I'm just saying if you're gonna sit down next to me, but just be careful. But well, the clothes can you can take it if you want to talk about clothes would be vanity. Not really. Not in this context. It's telling you, be willing to sell everything that you have. That's really what clothes are really doing. I guess you could say that it's vain. Clothes are vain. They're empty. But it's basically saying being willing. Like you got to comprehend nakedness is really talking about showing in Hebrew context, right? Other people do other things with it, that's fine. In Avla context, you're talking about, or Israelite context even too, but Avla context as well. You're speaking on something that's saying, hey, nakedness means that I am revealing myself. That's why the nakedness that it talks about, and people have all types of weird things for nakedness, which maybe we can go to, maybe we can't today. But when it talks about nakedness, people do all this weird stuff with Ham and stuff, and the nakedness and why Canaan was cursed and all that. Nakedness is basically to see a man's, not only to see his phallus, but to see his testicles, right? As far as men's nakedness is concerned. And so when he came in, he would have seen that. So move over that way if you want people to see you in the background. Mm, pick that up. Sir, if you're going to be on here, you can't be moving the stuff as I'm doing stuff. Pick that up. Move it that way. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You're not listening. All right, thank you. Now put it down. And there you go. All right. You move over something they can see you. There you go. So I guess my son must be seeing the background on Facebook fighting with his sword now that I said sword. So there you go. So I'll make sure you can see him over my shoulder. Um, if you want to come over to Facebook, you can see Solomon out here fighting with his wooden sword. Um, where was that? Where were we at? Yeah, but yeah, nakedness. Okay, so nakedness is nakedness is speaking to the things that somebody can see all of you. That's why the only person that should be able to see your nakedness as a man is actually supposed to be your wife, or a husband should be your wife. So, okay, cool. Your son's name is Solomon also. So the only person that really should be able to see us in our most vulnerable state should be our wife. So that was the issue. So when it's talking about getting rid of your clothes and everything, it's actually talking about revealing yourself, if you will, like all of yourself. As a woman, obviously your nakedness would not necessarily be your breast, but it would be your vaginal region, or your vagina itself. And that's why even in countries where they, have women that expose their breasts, you never see the vagina expressed, right? So when you are uncovering yourself, when you're showing yourself to buy a weapon, you're still covered by the Most High. He clothes you. Remember, Adam and Eve were not. Adam and Eve were naked, and yet could not be seen or did not recognize the nakedness of one another, right? So they could be seen, and yet they did not recognize the nakedness of one another, right? So it wasn't until they ate the fruit and they saw the knowledge of evil, and they saw that oh wow, maybe I've got this, or maybe I'm not thought of as this, these things like that, right? Then we see the nakedness become a thing, but Yahweh, who is love, he covered them, right? As Bree was saying, Yah covered them, and he covers us. So there are certain things that he covers, and so that's why covered by the blood. You see this thing of cover. It's talking about that there are things on you that are naked because of being exposed to sin. There, right? Nakedness is now a problem, and it should have always been covered with the relationship you have with the Most High. Now we are covered by the sacrifice, and so now certain things are covered. So when you talk about Noah and his nakedness and things like that, we're talking about something completely different than a lot of people have a mindset of. Right? How you doing, Treese? Shalom to everybody coming on all platforms. Thank you for being on the podcast, on YouTube, or TikTok, on Facebook. We appreciate you for being on. So yeah, so when we're talking about the nakedness and him covering, right, and covering these things. and you're you have to be recognized. I'm sorry. Can you speak about never being in around a man? I don't know what that never being in around a man. I'm sorry. What do you mean exactly by that, Empress? Never being in around a man, or never being around a man? Is that what you're saying? Never being in. Ça va? Viens. All right, viens. Viens. Assieds-toi. Assieds-toi. Uh, which one? Hmm. Oh, okay. It just hit the top. It hurt some. All right. Look, doesn't look like it's bleeding or anything. It looks like you'll be all right. You gonna go back out and play? Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure what you were saying. You said never being. It says never being in around a man. Are we talking about never being around a man? And are we talking about what that produces? Are we talking about how important it is in verses to make sure that we get that together? Okay, never being around a man. Okay. Also, too, which reminds me, um, for our Omer box, for our virtual Omer box today, we put in, or well, yesterday, right? We started the fast, so we've already fasting, and we were fasting for transition, right? And then today in the Omer box, we asked about the hearts of the fathers turning to the sons, and vice versa, just to let that be known. All right. Um, amen. But yeah, getting back to today. So you said for yes for men. So for men, I guess so. The question once again is, you said you learned unrighteous to be, or nakedness to be unrighteous spirituality. I mean, okay, if that's what you learned, then I'm just talking about from the actual perspective of the people that would have wrote it at the time. That's what they would have meant. Nakedness would have meant that you're seeing. You're actually seeing a man, which, by the way, everything physical is a manifestation of the spirit. But you're either seeing a man's, testicles more so than his phallus, and you're seeing a woman's vagina. Basically, you're seeing their nakedness. Uh, but yeah, I'm sorry. What was the what was? Oh, so what is it? Wait a minute. I'm trying to go back to the original question that we were just answering. Sorry. Wow, I don't see it. I don't know what happened. Let me look in the Q&A box. I just went away. Like I can't see it. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay. Okay. When the classes begin and how much are they? The classes have already started. The classes started on Monday. Uh, so real quick on that before we get into the back into the Q&A for the stuff for the Bible. Let's see. We have the Hebrew characters on Monday, Sovereignty 1 on Tuesdays. These are at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, except for one exception. Wednesdays we have off. Thursday, which is tonight, we have discipleship. Friday we have herbalism, or introduction to herbalism, taught by my wife, the Honorable Maya. Saturday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we have marriage. Saturday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we have biblical law. If you want more information, if you're on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, if you're on Facebook, just simply look at the stuff in the description box and we will get back to you ASAP regarding the description box. Um, we'll get back to you, and just contact us through there. If, and a matter of fact, if you're on YouTube as well, you can look down and actually fill out the SOC questionnaire so we can have your information as well. If you're on TikTok, all you got to do is go to our TikTok page, our main TikTok page, go to where it says website, click on that, and then look where it says classes on the link tree. and click on that. It'll give you all the information about classes, and then there's a form on there that you can fill out. But you can just simply get in contact with us, and we can give you the form as well, and we can make sure that you fill it out, and we'll have you a Google Calendar invite for the classes. As far as how much do the classes cost, we don't charge for classes, but we do accept donations. We ask for a bare minimum donation of $90, which, by the way, please, man, please, sir, jump up on these semesters, because I think by the time we hit the fourth semester, the prices will go up. They're not going to go up astronomically, but they will go up. And we're talking about $90 for 2 months straight of information, and university level classes. You don't really find anything like that. So feel free to go ahead and be part of that, and be part of that. Learning in our cultural curriculum, and we appreciate you in advance. If you're looking at giving any donations, which was the other part that I saw in there, I guess I missed, feel free to uh, look up different ways you can do so by, once again, looking in those same places we just talked about on all the platforms. And we thank you and we appreciate you. So getting back into men, and what happens when they aren't in position. Um, so when you're talking about, you said males never being around a man and not grown if into a man. So, yeah. So really, this is part of Deuteronomy 28. I think it's around verse 45, right? Where you'll see. Let me see. We go to Deuteronomy 28, and if we were to go around once again around verse 40, 45 or so, and you start looking at these curses, which are very similar to the Willie Lynch curses. If you start looking at those curses, you'll see that you're dealing with a lot of the same thing, right? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45, right? Matter of fact, if you go to verse 44, let's go back one verse, right? He shall lend to thee. So that's the people who have authority over you now, because we're scattered and everything, right? So, like, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt not be the tail, and thou shalt be. I'm sorry. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. That goes against what was said in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 through 15. That goes against it, right? So, here we are, now getting into it. Moreover, so it says more importantly than that. Moreover, more importantly, what does it say? More importantly than that, this is where you got to start paying attention. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee. All right, sir. Okay. Okay. Calme-toi. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee. That means it shall go after you. It'll chase after you. These curses are going to chase after those who are not following the word. So remember, just because the curses, Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 through 68 exist, doesn't mean that you have to participate in them. I always have to put that in there, because a lot of us do the thing, well, yeah, it's just there. Are you from Kemet? You're from Egypt. Okay, nice to meet you. Right? So you don't have to participate in the curses. You must recognize the curses exist. If you are participating in them, realize you're participating in them, but we don't have to stay in them. Okay. So, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee. That's if you're being disobedient, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee. Just like all the blessings can overtake us. If you're not careful, all the curses can overtake you. All right. It says, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for sign and wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Oh, wait a minute. I might have skipped over where I wanted. I didn't see what I wanted. Hold on. Did I skip over?
Yep.
Yep. You don't even know where I am, sir.
Yeah.
I did. You might be right, though. I'm looking for stuff specifically on men and women, but I don't see it. I've been saying verse 45 this whole time. I might have been telling y'all the wrong verse. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, so it's not even. I'm talking about verse 52, I think. Or verse 54. I reversed it. That's what it is. It's verse 54. I'm glad I read that though, because that gives us context. So it's not 45, it's verse 54. My bad. I've been reversing that in my head, those two numbers. See how much damage we can do when we mess around? All right. Now watch this. Watch this. To go with what you were talking about, because this is more so in line with your question. We set a foundation, but this is what we're talking about, right? Watch this. Verse 54. Matter of fact, I might need to go back a little further. We'll start at verse 54. Deuteronomy 28:54. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54. So we're going to start there. It says this. It says, so that the man is tender among you. The word tender is just basically saying you're unprepared. All right. So that the man is tender among you and very delicate. His eye shall be evil toward his brother and toward his wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So this is the issue. So I didn't go through all the stuff, but we went all the way back to where we started. And if you look at what that says, it tells us that we're having issues, that we're dealing with being locked up, that we're losing self and all these things. It says, so now the man is tender. The word tender, once again, in verse 54 is saying that he's unprepared. He's become the tail and not the head when he should have always been the head and not the tail. He's become underneath when he should have always been above. Instead of, right, he should have always been above and never underneath, right? His enemies should have came before him one way and scattered several ways, but he's been scattered all over the place, and his enemy is standing in place as one unit. And we have to reverse the curse, right? The violent take it by force, so to speak. The violent are taking this by force. So we have to make sure that we have a sword or a weapon of some type. We have to have some land of some type. We have to have a thought process of some type that allows us to be able to do better and greater things, right? So it says, so that the man is tender, unprepared among you, and very delicate. He's supposed to be hardened. He's supposed to be masculine, but his masculinity has become toxic in the eyes of many. So now he's got to soften himself in order to fit in. So now when he becomes too soft and he's not there to help, he's not there to do this, that, etc. The third. Now people say, well, where are the men? Where are the tough men and all this? Well, you told him, you taught him, you kept telling us all this time that our masculinity was toxic. You told us when we raised our voice that we shouldn't raise our voice. You told us when we showed emotion not to show emotion, because when a man shows emotion, it will be louder, it will be stronger, it will be more boisterous, it will be something that echoes. Right? If you get frustrated and you hit a table, if he gets frustrated and hits a wall, he might put a hole through it. That's man. And now it's not correct. I'm just telling you that's masculinity. It looks different, is what I'm trying to get you to see. But we've become like Willie Lynch said. He said, "I will reverse your nature." He said he studied you. He studied your word, and you didn't even know. And then they took those words out, right? And then they took those words out, right? So then he took those words out and he reversed them. He reversed those things. He gave you what's called a slave Bible. He took out all these chapters and verses of your Bible, and told you that it's his. And now he's living with one, saying that he's got this knowledge, calling himself a Mason. And here you are trying to figure out how to piece yourself back together. Okay, so our men have become what? Unprepared, right? And so therefore it says he's become delicate. He's tender. He's too tender to be hardened. He's delicate. Remember, this word is even used by King David. King Solomon is, or at that time, Prince Solomon is going to ultimately build the temple. David has too much blood on his hands, and so Prince Solomon is going to have to be the one to build it when he becomes king. David says, "I'm going to get all the material together. So even though I'm not going to build it, I'm going to get the material and prepare him for it." Why? He said, "Because my son is tender." He said, "My son is unprepared." He said, "My son's not ready for this." So he said, "I'm going to give him everything that he needs." All right. So it says that once again, the man is tender among you and very delicate. His eyes shall be evil toward his brother. First things first, because he's unprepared for what's about to happen. Now he looks at his brother different. Now he's looking at his brother different than he ever did before, because he's tender. Don't step on my shoes, bruh. Why? Because my shoes got to look better. That's what it's about. I'm tender. I'm unprepared. I'm delicate. Everything I'm delicate about. What you mean by that? I'm delicate. I'm tender. Who you looking at? Who you looking at? Right? Who you looking at? What you think who you looking at? It's because You don't even like to look at yourself. So somebody look at you, even if they just looking at you, it's like they must be looking for something bad. I'm tender. I'm delicate. And so now my eye is evil, even towards my own brother. And toward the wife of his bosom, the wife who I need to be close to you, I can't even trust you because I don't trust myself. And toward the remnant of his children, right? Even towards the children that are around, that are scattered, that he might even have a relationship with, it says, which he shall leave. We put in a position where we're leaving because we're tender, we're unprepared, we're delicate. We're too delicate for it. And so somebody will be there, somebody be in your life. I was listening to, I never knew this about Jimmy Buckets. If you know about sports, as Jimmy Butler plays for this, used to play for the Chicago Bulls and then the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then the Philadelphia 76ers. Now he's doing really well with the Miami Heat. I didn't know he used to be homeless. And apparently he became homeless because his mother was just left one day by his father. Father, doesn't know why and this and that, but a lot of brothers do that. And so his mother actually ended up kicking him out the home because she had to keep looking at his face and he looked just like his daddy. It was too much for her to handle, but because daddy couldn't handle it and he was delicate and didn't know how to talk about problems, probably had people saying you ain't doing this, that, or whatever. He felt it was too much pressure. Nobody was there to help him. It was too much. He ultimately just gets up and leaves. A lot of men will just get up and leave. That's a little boy mentality, but it's because we're tender and therefore we're delicate. And we look at our brothers and we start comparing with our brothers and we start yelling at our brothers. And then, as much as we want our wife to be the main person that's with us, we end up looking at her the same way. All she got to do is say something that sounds similar to what my brother said, or somebody said about me at work, or the world says about me, or what they say about me on the news. And I can't take it, man. It's too much. Because being a man, I will assure you, as much as people just say, be a man, be a man, being a man. May I say it like this? Being an Israelite man. Matter of fact, may I say it like this? Hey, why not? Being a black man is one of the most difficult things on the planet today. And so when somebody says be a man to a man, it's really frustrating. Because we're like, you don't even know what it takes to be me. You don't know what it takes to wake up. You don't know what it takes to have to conform every day and never even have a space. Like, do you know what it's like? Like, you know how many men just wish that they had a space, not a room, just had a space where this is dad's space. That's why when men get money, they cannot wait to have the man cave, because it is difficult to not have anywhere to where you can just do what you like to do. It is difficult. It is difficult. It is so difficult that you will be in there talking about why is it that your man, even if he not go number two, whatever, why does he stay in the bathroom for so long? He stays in the bathroom because it is something that he has the space. He can lock the door and he's hoping that nobody will be able to come in. And sometimes the bathrooms are even designed to where he can't even have it where it's fully locked, depending on where he uses it, right? You go to a hotel, sometimes somebody might be able to come to a bathroom through another way. He's like, damn, I can't even come in here, right? You know what I'm saying? And know that if I'm in here, this is my space. Like I'm telling you, it's very difficult. And a lot of us are very delicate. A lot of us are very tender, unprepared, and it causes us to do weird things, right? Now watch this. It says this in the next verse. It says, so that he will not give any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat. So he starts basically doing stuff that's killing his own children. He's feeding off his own children, not even knowing it. He's feeding on his own children. He's messing them up. He's destroying them already because he had nothing left him in the siege. People of Cain, kingdom of heaven, suffer violence. The violent are taken by the force. He feels like there's nothing left. He feels like there's nothing left. And a lot of parents do this. This is not just a man thing. Women do this too. Before your child even gets to an age where they can already start paying their own bills, they're already in debt because you're using their name for the phone bill and using their name for the, what I'm saying? These are generational curses. This is what Deuteronomy 28 is talking about. Generational curses. He's already eating off them. He's already using it. He's already saying, hey, y'all do this and do this. He's feeding off of them for sports. He's feeding off of them for this. He's very toxic. Now that's toxic, but that's not masculinity. We think it's masculinity, but it's because he's not prepared. It's because he's delicate. He's doing these things. It then says, because he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straightness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. So he's in siege. He can't leave where he is. He feels there's no environment for him, and every time he tries to leave, the enemy is constantly being violent against him. So every time he tries to go out the gate, he's getting attacked. That's why it says in your Bible, right? Um, how long will you assault a man? How long will you slap a man? How long will you assault a man? It says that in there. All right, and those who are on the podcast, thanks for being on. I think we got about 2-3 minutes left before our time will be up for today. So thank you for being on. If you want to join us on YouTube, TikTok, or Facebook, feel free to. We thank you very much once again. Appreciate everybody for being on. Right, but it says that in your Bible. How long you gonna keep assaulting a man? How long you gonna keep saying, I need a real man? You ain't no real man. You ain't nothing. You just like your daddy. Blah blah blah. Like after a certain point, how long you gonna keep assaulting him before it and then you get mad. Now I'm not saying he should ever put his hands on you, but then you get mad. He raised his voice. He's always yelling. He's always doing. I assure you, he's not doing that randomly. But once again, we haven't seen men. We've seen people that are unprepared. We've seen people that are tender. We've seen people that are in their emotions. We've seen people that are supposed to make sure that they are not masculine. And so when we have masculine things come out of us, we don't even know how to do it. I assure you that there's nothing wrong with masculinity. I'm going to say something, hear the whole thing out because somebody's going to be like, that's weird to say. I assure you that there is nothing wrong with the masculinity, hear what I'm saying, that causes a man to hit a woman. It is wrong to hit a woman, but there's nothing wrong with the masculinity. The problem is that he's never seen how do I channel that masculinity. So he doesn't know how to channel it. So it becomes I hit the woman. There's nothing wrong with the masculinity. The problem is how do I channel it? Right? Like there's nothing wrong with having righteous indignation. There are things, righteous indignation literally means that I can be angry about things when they're not up to right legal standing. I have a right to do that, but it doesn't mean I have a right to cuss you out. It doesn't mean I have a right to shoot you. Right? If you steal from me, I have a right to say it is righteous for me to be angry and say, why you steal from me? Like, why did you do that? All right, same to you, Minister Sonia. Right? Like it's okay for us to be able to do that. The masculinity is not the problem. The problem is he's never seen a man channel it, right? Or you might get with somebody, right? Like we have sisters, right? We have sisters who will get with somebody and be like, see, there you go. You always walking away. Why you always got to walk away when we need to talk? Why can't you just talk? Why can't you just talk? You know, like some brothers learn from other men that instead of standing there, if you feel angry about something and frustrated, you don't know how to deal in it, what you should do is just walk away and walk away, calm yourself so that you can be heard. And ask your wife from that point on, hey, before we talk about certain things, can you ask me if I'm prepared, if I'm in a mental space where I can talk about it? Like those are things that we should be taught. And so he's simply just giving you what a man does. But somebody who doesn't know about that, right, and hasn't seen a man operate like that, or hasn't heard a man say he should operate like that, is right because men think inwardly first before we give outward opinion. Women think outwardly first before they have an opinion. They deal with the opinion inside. Neither one is right or wrong. It's the way that we're normally designed. The man is designed to think inwardly and execute outwardly. So if you ask him to execute outwardly, like because he's designed to be the protector, right? So he needs to feel respected. If he feels respected on the inside, he protects on the outside. What's the wife's number one need? Security. If she feels secure on the outside, or I'm sorry, if she feels secure, or so on the outside, if you show her security, then she'll say inside, I need to respect. It's we're designed to help each other, right? We're designed to love one another. And yes, before people say the Bible doesn't say we're to love, we already showed that scripture, right? Titus chapter 2, verse 3, read on down, talks about wife loving her husband, okay? And how elderly women should teach the elderly wives should teach the younger wives to be able to make sure that they love their husbands, okay? So we had answered that already, but I feel like you got to put that out there because that's another frequently asked question. But once again, if the man is tender, if he's unprepared, then he doesn't have it. So we don't have a culture, an environment that allows for us to be able to make sure that these men are taught. I've said this before, I'll say it again. A lot of us have never looked a real man in the eye. A lot of not only men, but a lot of women have never looked a real man in the eye. Right? How you doing, Minister Select Morel? Or at least don't even know how to identify a real man, which, by the way, a real man before he gets married should already have been taught what it is to be a man, a husband, and a father. He should be pre-qualified, just like a real woman should already be qualified as a wife. I'm sorry, as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother before we come together. Right? So yeah, for men, it's very difficult because we have not been taught, we have not been shown what it is, we have not been prepared. You're dealing with a lot of stuff where you have not been prepared for it. A lot of women is difficult even if you read. if whether you have a real man or not, even to identify him, because you're more into stuff, you're more into different things, but that's not the stuff that doesn't and I'm not saying it's bad to look for stuff. I'm saying you're more into stuff like that doesn't really matter to real men. You know, like women will be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get my makeup together, and I'm gonna get my lashes together, and I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that. I promise you that real men have never sat there and been like, like one of the things that's never been on a real man's mind has been like, man, you know what? I like her lashes. Like I like the fact that she bought them lashes right there. I've never thought about that, not one time in my life, right? But we will get that brought to us because people who are over the industry, the fashion industry, tell you need those long lashes. Now, question: who's over the fashion industry? Is it real men? Who do you think is over the fashion industry? Just question: who's over the fashion industry? Is it real men? Who you would consider real men? Would you go? Watch this. Would you go out with the men who are over the fashion industry? Well, men telling women what to wear, and a lot of times it's not even straight men. So these men that are telling you what to wear for these real men out here aren't even men that you would want to have to be with, or even if you wanted to be with them, they wouldn't want to be with you.
Yeah.
But they're telling you that's what is attractive, right? You hear what I'm saying? Like, ain't too many men that I know that I've had conversations with, and when we was talking about what's attractive, whether physically or spiritually or psychologically, etc., ain't too many of them that started off with the lashes. Ain't too many of them that started off with the bra and panties match. I'm not saying that that's you. You know why men end up liking stuff like that and makeup and all these different things. We end up liking it because we like the fact that you like it, right? We see those of us that have been prepared, right? Yeah, we're not into artificial beauty. Like those of us that have been prepared and had fathers, teachers, and stuff like that, they be like, we'd be like that. We've had conversations like that. Man, what? Why is the makeup that important? Why is the cost? Why is it 300, 400, $500 for that bag of makeup and this and that or whatever? And be like, it makes your mother happy. And so he's teaching us by saying that we're learning. Oh, so if your wife is happy because she has these things, and when I get with a wife, then I'll be happy if she's happy with those things. It's not about me, right? That's why if somebody says, should a woman wear makeup? Should a woman not wear makeup? Look, the Bible does talk about like people who are getting to a point where it's almost like clown-like with makeup. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous, right? But if a woman wants to wear makeup and she feels comfortable in the makeup, right? She can still be beautiful in the makeup. Then yeah, I love the makeup not because of the makeup. I love the makeup because it makes you feel comfortable and confident. I like it when you feel comfortable and confident without it because I love you. That's real men, right? But a man who's not prepared in that, he learns from not so real men. You need to stop, sir. Like it's not about dancing right now. If you want to do that, you have a whole channel that you could do that, but you don't even do that on there because you're busy doing other things. If you want to be on this, it's about these things. Especially I'm talking, you don't need to be singing and stuff, right? Okay. So I don't mind you doing this stuff in the background over there. Or if you want to make it without making noise, or if you want to sit down, right? So but these are the things that we're dealing with, and we have something on there where it's like we have this whole dialogue that's not really a real man, so to speak, dialogue. It's not. You know, there are very that's why you get into this stuff. You know why some men don't like stretch marks is because that they listen to people who aren't even into women tell them about stretch marks, or they listen to sisters who say, man, I really don't like stretch marks because society, which is not our society, it's somebody else's society who's in charge, told you that if you have stretch marks you're not beautiful anymore. Real men don't mind stretch marks at all. Why? Because just like Cat Williams said, it either means that you was once big and you got small, or you was small and got big. And he said either way we effing. Right? Like real talk. You know what I'm saying? Like it has nothing to do. A stretch mark has never once been like that's a deal breaker for me. I've never been like, oh, is this, my wife has a stretch mark. That's terrible. Never once. Never once have I thought, right? Now I get it if it's something you don't want. Heck, I mean, I've got stretch marks. I've got places that I once was real big and got small, or once was real small and got big. Like, okay. But we have this weird sensation where it's like, oh yeah, you must be terrible or this and that or whatever. Like it's real talk. Like, but we have people that are not preparing us. We're being prepared by people who are not even up on manhood. So if somebody not prepared on manhood, and once again, because we are unprepared, if you keep reading where we stopped in Deuteronomy 28, starting at verse 54, and we stopped at verse 55, if you start going to verse 56, it starts talking about how the tender man or the non-prepared man now affects the woman because she becomes tender, right? Because at first, remember, he was tender and delicate. Then he started looking at his boys and his brothers wrong. Then he started looking at his wife wrong. Then he started looking at his children wrong, right? And then he realized that there's no escape, so he's just stuck in this. And because of that pattern, what's happened to him now is what? That it says that verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you. So now the woman becomes delicate. See, remember, Willie Lynch, he told you he reversed the nature. See, remember, the woman was protected, and the man was supposed to be the protector, and he was supposed to be respected because he was the protector. Now, Willie Lynch said, we'll beat the man and make him to where he's scared. He's no longer the protector, and the woman becomes the protector. Now now the man becomes the one that's tender. And he said, when we do this, he said we would cause her to be in a frozen, an independent state. The independent woman did not come from black women. The independent woman came from Willie Lynch syndrome, from slavery, from chattel slavery, saying that you don't have anything, so you're frozen, but you speak independent. I'm independent. I'm this, I'm that. And while talking independent, man, I wish there were some real men out here, but ain't no real man, ain't no real black men. So I'll go ahead and I'll go start talking about white men or good credit or there's all these terms that you're using. You don't recognize that's post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder. That's things we still haven't dealt with in the community. I'm not saying that you can't ever date outside your race or whatever, but what I'm saying is that the reasons why you're doing it is not because of what you think it is. It's because of some things that still are here. You said anything makes a woman more confident would be seen as attractive. Yeah, that too, right? But so now watch, like that's why in the movies, y'all watch the movies, the old school movies, especially like in the 80s and stuff. At least when I remember in the 80s, they had the movies and, you know, the girl would have glasses on. That meant she was supposed to be unattractive. Then she takes off the glasses, she's supposed to be attractive. Really what they were saying and what thought they were saying to our psyche was this, is that we know that certain types of people or certain people, etc., supposedly are supposed to be, I'm sorry, I got so much light behind me. I don't know if y'all see me better now, but then we got YouTube going as well. So I'm trying to make sure we can be seen on all the platforms. I'm trying to reverse some things here. Give me a second. But I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Hopefully it does. Got too many platforms and devices and stuff. Got things growing around me and everything. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up anything. But you have to recognize, right, that it used the reason they did the whole glasses thing. They did the whole glasses thing is due to the fact that we had this mindset that people who wore glasses were nerds. So, and nerds were made to feel not comfortable, so they never had confidence. So all they were saying in the movie is, oh, she has no confidence when she got the glasses on. She takes her glasses off, whips her hair around, and all that stuff, and then you go, oh, she's got confidence. that's all. That's all really they were saying is that she's more attractive because she's got confidence. The makeup, all that stuff, the clothing, and everything, but they were trying to say she's got confidence now. That's all it is, right? And so that's what real men are into. But if women aren't confident, they'll say, "Oh, I'm strong, I'm independent, this and that," but not confident at the same time. I'm not saying every woman, but I'm saying this is something that we know psychologically and that black women have said themselves, okay? And then women in general have said themselves, okay? I'm not just making this up, right? I do life coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, I do marital coaching, right? And I read quite a bit, I listen quite a bit, and I try to make sure I listen to my wife quite a bit. I listen to other people quite a bit. I try to let them tell me. So you said the tender and delicate women among you. So this is what it says. So now the man is delicate, tender, unprepared, doing things to his boys, to his wife, to his children, and in society he feels he can't escape. Now the woman feels tender and delicate, she said, and which would not adventure to set. Watch this. She would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. In other words, she is so delicate and tender now that it's difficult for her to even take a step. How do I know as a woman where to take a step when all society is telling me that I ain't nothing? Right? How can I have a conversation, even if, like, watch this, somebody who doesn't support feminism from the viewpoint of, hey, we're dealing with a lot of people who, which by the way, white women have not had rights. And we know that they didn't have rights because all you got to do is see when the Constitution is written, see if white women actually have the right to vote and things like that. Although they were in at the time on some of the stuff and making some of the money and being okay with slavery. And even if they were not an ally, what did you call them back then? Whatever you call it. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain moment, but they were supposed to be anti-slavery and all these things, right? But they still lived off. But at the same time, we had to recognize they didn't have rights. But then we talk about a black woman, and a woman says, "Why are you not dealing in feminism?" Well, I don't want to deal in feminism because I have certain issues that I'm dealing with, right? And it's become so much of a fight. Everybody's so against everything, and men won't even recognize that there is misogyny. And if somebody says misogyny, now we got to say misandry. And if somebody says misandry, then somebody has to come against that and say chauvinism, even though chauvinism is patriotism. So what you really mean is male chauvinism, which means male patriotism. So I wave the flag of men. And the men that are in charge are rich white men. So it becomes all this thing so confusing. It says that she's so unprotected out here trying to be the strong, independent black woman. It says that she literally can't even set her foot upon the ground. She can't even step. She can't even take a step in a direction. That's what it's saying. That's how difficult things have become, where she can't even set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom. So because her husband is out of pocket and he now can't look at her straight, well then she is fed by that person who's supposed to set the environment. And he remember, the husband lays down instruction, the mother lays down the law. If you giving out instruction, if you giving out vibes that say that I can't trust you because you ain't what everybody else say you're supposed to be, da 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 da, then she gonna start looking at you and saying, well, I can't trust you because you don't look like what everybody else says, and da 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 da. Right? And then it says, and toward her son and toward her daughter. So she gonna give it to the babies just like he gonna give it to the babies. She gonna give it to the babies too. It says, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, so comes out of her womb, and toward her children, which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straightness. So the same thing is talking about that the husband's out there, he's just straight leaving. He's just straight up like not even having natural affection. He's straight up not teaching. Therefore, it's like eating and ripping his children apart. It says she gonna do it, but she gonna do it in secret. She's going to do it in secret places. She's going to do it in places that people just don't see it. It's not going to be called out as much as it is for the man, but she's still doing it, right? She'll still go through the same place. She might get the abortion, but you might not know about it. She's still tearing stuff up. The man is talking about, why can't I have right to talk about abortion for the child, this and that, or whatever. He's saying that publicly like a fool. She more reserved, and she like, okay, well, nobody knows that I had to go to Planned Parenthood anyways. They're not supposed to tell anybody. Or, the man out there, yeah, you know what, like, yeah, let's go, play the sport, do all these things or whatever, and you having your child get injured and all that, she'll wait till you get to the house, and she'll be like, you better do this and this and this, and she'll start doing the things there. She'll start slapping you there. The father might take his belt off at the stove, but she might, take the belt off at the house. And I'm not saying that's every woman, right? I'm just trying to give you examples so you can comprehend the context, right? So she might do it. She's in the same siege and thing. She feels like she can't escape, just like he feels like he can't escape. They're doing the same thing. The kingdom of heaven suffers violent, and the violent are taking it by force. Even if they're not able to get into the gates, the people inside the kingdom are doing some wild stuff because they feel they can't leave, or they can't get food, or they can't do anything because the system that they're in says they can only stay in one place, right? Right? Wherewith the enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. Right? But verse 58 says, if thou will not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious, that means serious, glorious or heavy, serious weight put on it. So this glorious and fearful or respectful name, Yahweh Alachem. Only if. So we don't have to accept it, is the point. We don't have to accept it. We can begin to do righteous things. Somebody asked about anger earlier. I believe it was Sister Deborah. Please forgive me if you're still on. Hopefully you are. But there was a lot in that answer, right? As far as anger, how do you get over anger? Well, once again, anger, first of all, see why you're angry. First of all, see why you are angry. if we can do it like that. First and foremost, see why you were angry. Okay. First and foremost, see why you were angry. Not yet. Almost. So first and foremost, see why you are angry. Um, because once again, usually the reason, even if it's righteous indignation, usually the reason why we get angry is because somebody didn't do what we thought they should do, or what we thought we would do if we were in their, you know, in their circle or in their position, rather, right? Because I would do this. Therefore, since I would do this, I'm surprised that you did that, and we get angry, we get frustrated by it. If I was doing that, if I see, I love you, and since I love you, I'd never do blah blah. But you're not them. First of all, see why you're angry, even if it's righteous, even if it's because they did something and you would have done something that's righteous. First of all, see why you did it. Secondly, if you're somebody that's dealing with anger, because we should never let the sun go down on our anger. Anger is okay, but you should never let the sun set. You should never go into the next day and you're still angry. You should never go to sleep and still be angry. Right? Somehow, some way, you know, you should never be so angry that you're in the hotel room and you can't deal with the people that are in your house. Right? That's when that leads to other things that can happen, right? But first and foremost, you got to ask yourself, why am I angry? A lot of times we just go, well, I'm angry because so and so, blah blah, this and that. No, 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 no. Like, okay, yeah, somebody did something wrong. Are you angry because they did something wrong? Right? Watch this. Like anything that we do, I say this in anything. I don't care if you're talking about preaching, speaking in tongues, whatever it is. Uh, Going for a walk, right? Teaching the word, preaching the word. I don't care what it is. Um, Anger, everything should go towards the vision, purpose, value. If I have a vision, then that's where I'm headed. If I have purpose, that's what I do every day to get to where I'm headed. The value, I'll put a value on it that no matter what's going on, even if others don't agree with it or believe in it, I'll make it happen, right? Vision, purpose, and value. Anger, if you're going to keep it, you know, even though you shouldn't keep it past night, but if you're going to hang on to it for a little bit, even as motivation or whatever, then hang on to it to do something with it. If it serves no purpose as far as helping you to push forward, right? If it's right, even if that's going to be okay, flip over a table. Joshua had to flip over a table, right? Now he did. Now he wasn't always flipping over tables when he was angry, right? You got to be led, being led, right? But how does it serve you, and ultimately, how does it serve the Most High? If I'm carrying anger for 3 weeks, you got to tell me, how does that serve the Most High? Anger is an emotion. You have a right to get angry. And emotion just means the motions of your mind, the motions of your body, etc. Like, yeah, you'll you will get angry. If you're a human being, you will get angry. People say, I never get angry. Well, either you're ignoring things or acting like things don't happen, or your reaction to anger doesn't necessarily mean that you act like other people. But you will be angry in life, right? And that's okay. But if you're angry about the same thing, it's been 3 weeks. Like you gotta start asking, because that's a habit. You know, after you get to 21 days, 28 days, that becomes a habit. And so if you're still carrying anger, you gotta start saying to yourself, like, why am I angry at this point? Like what the person did is what they did. Like even if I don't trust the person, I've forgiven you, right? But I don't have to trust you. I've forgiven you. I'm cool. You do what you do. I'm gonna do what I do. But to be angry about it still, you gotta ask yourself, like, am I holding on to that because if I was in their position, I wouldn't have done that? Am I holding on to it because I haven't forgiven? Am I holding on to it, right? Like that's one of the first things you got to do to even deal with the anger. You got to ask why, because 3 weeks later, you ain't angry because of what they did, because they did what they did 3 weeks ago. At this point, it's not because of what they did. It's because you decided to hold on to it. Now, if you decided to hold on to it, now the question be, and it's not easy, but now we have to start questioning what are ways to let go every day. Like every day, I built up this anger. Okay, every day, how can I let it go? What can I do today to let go of the anger? What can I do tomorrow? Right? Like if you got surgery And after you finish the surgery, they're going to let you rest. They're going to say, okay, these are the amount of weeks you got to rest. This is what position you're. Let's say you got surgery on your leg. Okay, when you lay down, your leg needs to be in this position. You need to make sure that you got this type of wheelchair, or this type of whatever you're using, this type of crutches, etc. They're going to teach you how to use it and all this. There's a process that goes on. So now we got to start figuring out the anger. Okay, how am I going to let this go? I've had this go on. Some of y'all been angry about something for 25 years. Some people who are dead and gone, we still can't bring up their names without you freaking out and flipping out. So we got to start asking questions. We got to start asking questions like, okay, how do we deal with that? Right? We got to start asking questions. How do I deal with that? How do I confront that? How do I look at that? What got me here? How many days did I focus on that? Right? How many days did I focus on that? How often? Did I focus on it every day? For how many years did I focus on it? Okay, I might need to focus on it the same amount of years. Salaman. Yeah. Right. How many years? How many days? You're probably gonna have to go inside and plug it in.
Okay.
Hold on, let me open up. Oh, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. But you gotta ask yourself those questions, right? Like, how did I get to this point? Like if you were angry over something for 5 days, then it might take you at least 5 days to get over it. What is the amount of hurt? Who are the people that I went to? Did I go to somebody who was versed in helping me through it, or did I just go to somebody so that we could talk bad about somebody? A lot of times we do that. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, misery loves company. I'm gonna find somebody to help me in my misery. We can stay in misery. we'll those in misery unite. We'll put our power rings together, and we'll make a little Voltron or something based off of misery, and we'll go around the nation killing people and killing reputations and telling people how terrible things are. We got to ask questions like, how did you even get over it? Did you try to get over it? Um, you know, did you look to see what you were doing that's wrong in your life now? And I think that's one of the things that can help in general. By the way, when we're talking about anger and stuff, just in general, if you can start getting to a place to where you start saying, hey, I'm gonna focus on the things that I oftentimes don't get right, and stop focusing on what everybody else never gets right. I think that you'll start finding that it's a lot easier to deal with the anger issues and stuff, and being upset and frustrated at everybody else. Like at some point, like what can I do to be better, to be greater? What can I do? Yeah, sometimes anger comes with confusion. Yeah, and a lot of times, like once again, so that's why we say, why am I angry? The expectations that you met, if that's the reason why, then where those expectations, like even in that's self-condemnation. We talk about that term all the time. Could you be angry because you're condemning yourself? If you feel like somebody cheats on you, right? That's something that a lot of people deal with or have dealt with before. Somebody cheats on you. Oh wow, you cheated on me. But a lot of times people don't recognize you kind of blame yourself. I should have never been with this person. I should have never done this. I should have like let it go. People lose people in death and don't realize that they're angry with themselves. You start finally years down the road, man, if I had just done this one thing, I wish that mama could have seen me do this. I've done that before. I told y'all that I still deal with that. Mama been gone 20 years. And I still be thinking to myself, man, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't stole. I wish I hadn't I mean, I did a lot of bad things. But you gotta, forgiveness is not just only for the other person, it's for you too. So I feel like I missed a few questions in there, but we're gonna get ready to take our leave for the day soon. Oh, okay. My wife said, "Oh, wow, I'm sorry, baby. That was 30 minutes ago." Said, "What class? What's my favorite class to teach?" That's interesting. I don't know if I have a favorite class. Um, I guess I really like Hebrew characters. Um, just because to see people light up and to see people get it for the first time, then they actually realize that how these words are put together, and they can actually start looking at it for themselves. I guess I like that one. I really like a lot of classes we haven't brought back in a while. I really like the marriage class, even though we just brought that back again this semester. But I'm talking about some of the things we haven't done in a while, like solutions from the Black perspective. I really like the Black history class. You know, I like apologetics. Those are actually kind of things that are kind of more my speed, but other people don't really sign up for them. Like we were supposed to do apologetics at first, and nobody really said that they wanted to take it. So we ended up putting in. I don't remember if it was biblical law or discipleship, but nobody wanted to take it. So we just, but those are classes I actually like. But to each their own. Those are my personal ones or whatever. You said it's like pushing MT buttons, enforcing your vows, or pushing your buttons, enforcing your vows. So yeah, and yeah, the fast will end tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern New York time. So hang in there. It'll be before you know it. It's just one day, but yeah, the best way to fast. If you continue down this path or whatever, if you want to fast again, if you want to get into intermittent fasting or whatever, 6 p.m. is the best time about to stop eating, anyways. They give your body a chance, especially if you're going to sleep on time. Many of us are going to sleep at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Well, I guess there's no such thing as on time. Whatever your schedule is, it allows. But for most of us, because of what we do in the system and stuff every day, and because of how our system is, you kind of gotta one of the things, make sure you get a lot of sleep. By the way, a lot of anger issues too. A lot of people have anger issues. A lot of people don't sleep. So I'm actually, now that that's been brought up, thank you, Holy Spirit, for putting that together. Make sure that you get some sleep. That'll help you with your anger as well. Is the marriage class only for married people? Of course not. It is not. Well, of course not. Yeah, it is not. I guess it can be assumed, but a lot of most of the people actually who have taken the marriage class, interestingly enough, because you would think people married would take it. I guess a lot of people who are married usually think that they got it together. And hey, praise y'all if it's worked for you. I know some of y'all married 30 plus years, 40 plus years, whatever. So do your thing. But the marriage class is really for everybody because once again, we were supposed to be trained on being husbands and wives before we became husbands and wives. So it actually is very much so suited and geared for a lot of people who, whether you intend to be married or not, also too, it helps you with your relationship with the Most High because we are supposed to be His wife. So thanks, babe, for that reminder. I appreciate that. CA said, "What did I eat for breakfast?" Well, if I'm fasting right now, I didn't eat anything for breakfast. Um, you said if married and only one person wants to be in, then you come on in. I mean, you come on in. Yeah, and usually men don't come right away to anything, pretty much because men, once again, were attacked, and so a lot of men are so used to being attacked and everything that they feel like they're going to get attacked when they come on. Or if we be honest with you, a lot of men, are just like, I don't need no man to tell me nothing or whatever. And by the way, like every man is supposed to be a natural foundation. Naturally, we're created to be the foundation for our environment and for our families. And so to listen to somebody else, it's like I have to be on guard because you might say something that really messes up my family. I ain't mad at it. You know, a lot of men don't. And a lot of men think that because we talk about the Bible, we're going to be about church. And if I can be honest with you, let's just keep it real. Let's keep it a buck, fellas, sisters. Church ain't exactly the most masculine thing in the world. I'm just saying. So a lot of cats hear what we talk about, and they're like, "Oh, here comes somebody. He gonna be doing the, all this stuff and everything like that, and he gonna be doing all this, and he gonna say I have to dance and work it out and this and that or whatever." No, like I'm with you, bro. Like I like praise and worship, but I'm with you, bro. Like. But manliness is something that's not only necessarily liked in the world or not discussed in the world. It's something that's not discussed in church. So a lot of men, they hear Bible and they think that that's an indicator. Like we talk about cultural indicators for them, they look at a culture that says, you you really ain't who you supposed to be. Oh, that's perfect, Bree. Are you starving for some reason right now? Yeah, I need to get back to that. I used to only eat one meal a day. I think it was around 3 p.m. My wife can correct me. It's been a while, but it used to be I would only eat that one meal a day, 3 p.m. I used to pretty much cook for myself and for anybody who wanted to eat the meal with me. And for a while, the whole family was on the diet together. And I just basically, I think it was quinoa, almost only quinoa, or possibly some kind of like vegetable pasta, that I would use as a base. Or sometimes if it was actual real wild rice, we would use that. And then from there, it was pretty much just straight whatever medicine or whatever healing felt I needed at the time. And we eat it for like a month straight and flip to something else a month straight and flip to something else a month straight. I done got off track with that. Now I eat, at least twice a day, and it's not always the greatest. Even if it's not like fast food, I'm not always eating necessarily the greatest stuff. So I kind of get, I'm doing better than most, but it's not anywhere close to what I need to be. Um, and I've been dealing with some other things too, health wise. But yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, that's great that you eat. That's your regular, eating habits. That's something that's really great. You said if word has meaning, why do we continue to use the word? Hang enough of us hasn't been hang. I don't know what you're saying, Fitz. I'm sorry. If the word has meaning, why do we continue to use the word? Hang enough of us hasn't been hang or hung. I don't know exactly what you're saying. Oh yeah, quinoa is one of the best things for melanin. Period. So all of us got melanin. So quinoa is one of the best things you can use. Period. But yeah, I don't comprehend the question that was there earlier. If word has meaning, and this is probably one of the last ones, but you said if word has meaning, why do we continue to use the word? Hang enough of us hasn't been hung. Are you saying that I talked about hanging earlier and that we shouldn't use the word hanging because if we use the word hanging, then we help it to exist? Or are you talking about like why do we use the Bible if the Bible hasn't changed much of anything? That it's our people are being hung? I don't quite get it, which we've kind of answered all those things before and even today. But yeah, words mean words. We don't ignore words, just like we don't ignore things that actually happen. We don't ignore each other. We don't ignore elephants in the room, and we make sure that we execute correctly. Like for example, you might say, "Why'd you say execute?" Well, execute doesn't mean you got to kill somebody. Execute means that you go through with something. So if you execute somebody, they really mean you're executing killing or something like that, right? But also too, like the word of Yah says that all law hangs from you know, those the two commandments that Yahshua says, right? So it's like, um, you know, so hang doesn't necessarily mean that you gotta be hanging from a tree. you know, it's kind of like when people say, well, I won't go there because we'd be into a long thing. But yeah, hang doesn't necessarily mean that, right? Like words have power, but also context has power. That's why it's not just facts without context. It's not just context without facts. We should be into contextual facts and we should interpret what somebody's saying. Interpretation, there's always only one interpretation. There could be many applications, but the applications have to come from the one interpretation. If somebody's saying, well, the word hang means that you can be swinging from a tree. But if somebody's saying, hang my clothes, so that they can dry, they are not talking about you, and they're not talking about a tree. They're probably more than likely talking about, a clothes hanger, or for those of you who use clotheslines and stuff still, or they're probably talking about, hey, can you, leave that in the bathroom? Can you leave that wherever? So I think we should always worry about context and not just be like, I don't like this word because of one way that it's used. That's the reason why a lot of stuff is not talked about to this day. That's why people, I think there's the same context that says, like, don't talk about racism because as soon as you do, then it exists. It's like, well, before I knew how to speak, racism existed. So that's not necessarily, and if I say racism, it doesn't mean that you are racist. It means that there's a system that's there. Matter of fact, if we use words correctly, then you would understand that a racist is just somebody who's proficient at competition. Or if you were a racist by the social construct, you're somebody who's proficient at being, like, let's say you're a white person and you say I'm a racist. What that should, by definition, mean is that I'm great at being myself, and as a white person, I'm great at loving all of humanity. That would actually be how you use the word. But because we don't use words correctly, you're taking somebody else's culture and context and putting it on. So when I say racist, I have to use this new value system, right? You said, when did racism begin? Racism is simply, once again, race. ISM on any word means a system, right? And that's why I try to say you got to go back past black or white, because black people and white people, you can say, were racist towards one another or in racism, towards one another, right? You got to understand the Greek people were not even white, what you would consider to be white now, and they were starting what we call racism. Like when you had black people who were there, and so somebody, remember, black people can be born with blonde hair and blue eyes and stuff as well, right? It's just lack of melanin, and that makes something look different. Doesn't mean that you're not black or anything anymore. It doesn't mean you're not human. It just means that like the lack of melanin in your eyes means I can see certain veins and things that I normally wouldn't see. And so sometimes it comes off as green, sometimes it comes off as light brown, sometimes it comes off as blue. Sometimes it can almost look whitish, right? It just depends on the person and what's going on in the melanin content, etc. But but it's like race is a competition. ISM means it's a system. It's a system of competition. So any system of competition that says that there's one class is above the other, it's not just classism, because that's classism. But when you say I'll set up the system to where one class can have the same in the competition, doesn't have to go as far or doesn't have to work as hard, right? And another one has to work harder during competition, not just because of class, but when that class comes to competition. So, like, for example, the IQ test, that's racism. Why? Because the IQ is supposed to be, everybody's going to take a test. Everybody's in competition to see how much intelligence they have. But the problem with the intel is that the intel means information. Whose information is it? If the information is somebody else's information, then therefore it's there. I'm sorry, you said if you tell me one word has three different meanings, why can't you choose the one that applies? Well, you would choose the one that applies to what they're saying. You can choose whatever you want, but if you're saying I'm going to choose what somebody else meant rather than say I'm going to tell you what somebody else meant, right? Like as far as like this, like then that's not interpretation. If you get my drift fit. So you're saying I hear somebody saying hang clothes from trees, so I'm going to say, you know what? We shouldn't say hang clothes from trees because black people have hung from trees. If that's what you interpret, then okay. Problem is though, is that interpretation by definition has to be one interpretation. Did the person who said I'm going to put a clothesline out and hang the clothes on the clothesline, and do that outside? If we're going to say that that person by saying that is helping to produce racism, that's not proper interpretation. If you choose to do it, you can choose to do whatever you want. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. You don't have to agree with the word I'm saying. I'm just telling you, if you actually want to look up what words mean, if you want to talk about interpretation, if somebody like let's do it like this. You ready? You ready for this? This is one I use a lot. If I say to you right now, I love my queen. If I say I love my queen, and I was just talking about the Honorable Maya, talking about our marriage, talking about our relationship, doing all this, and I say I love my queen. If you were to, if there was a, let's say if there was a woman that heard that and went to their friends, and their friends were like, man, you look happy today. What's going on? I was listening to this dude, man. This dude named Kofi. He was talking some really cool stuff. Well, you probably gonna say, dude, this is a woman. Y'all probably. But I was listening, I was listening to this person named Kofi. He was talking about some really cool stuff. Oh wow. Well, what was he talking about? He was talking about, queens. And then the friend said, well, what did he say? And then they'll say, and she'll be like, well, he was talking about how he loves all queens. I mean, I do have love for all queens, but that's not what I said. I didn't say I love all queens. I said I love my queen. Now, if you take that, then you didn't interpret what I said. What you're doing is just making up whatever you want, and that's fine. It's a mistranslation, though. It's a misinterpretation. But you can take whatever you want. It doesn't mean that I don't have love for all queens, but you don't say that I taught or I spoke on loving all queens, because if you're not careful, then you're gonna be like, yeah, he was talking about how they go for walks and they do this as far as nature, and he's learning, and he's learning how to listen to her better as far as herbalism, and she's training him on stuff, and she does project management, and yeah, so when I get together with my man, we're gonna do blah blah. That's a bad interpretation, because your man might not, your husband, he might not be on that, and that might not be how y'all function, and you might not be a herbalist. So to take that and try to apply it, all of that to you is a bad interpretation, right? But you can take that interpretation and say the same way he does, blah blah blah. I'm going to apply that in a different manner regarding my relationship. It's a difference, right? So we're getting into misinterpretation, but you have the right to do whatever you want to do. You have the right to take that all day. I'm just telling you that to say, I want to make this word mean this, or I want to make your sentence mean this because that's just how I feel. Your feelings are real and we should respect them. So I respect your feeling. But if your whole thing is just to say, I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing, that's probably not going to get it done as far as actually saying what somebody said. That's not how interpretation works. Look up Black's Law Dictionary and put the word interpretation in there. Black's Law Dictionary definition interpretation, or definition of interpretation according to Black's Law Dictionary. Google that real quick. Look up interpretation. That's a legal interpretation right there. You'll see that that's you go into a court of law and you tell somebody, hey, he was talking about loving on queens, and he's gonna say, then they're gonna look at the exhibit, they're gonna play it, and they're gonna say, no, he never said that. He said he loved his queen. Well, Your Honor, I was listening to what he said, and I tried to do exactly what he did with my wife. He never, right? And if I say, Your Honor, I never said do that exactly with your wife. I was talking about my queen, and my queen is the honorable my wife. That's how they would look at that, because they would comprehend that anything else would be misinterpretation. That being said, though, thank you all. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys for class that have class later tonight. Those who have not been with us on class, we'll try to, we're still getting forms that are coming in. Feel free to fill out those forms. If you're on YouTube with us right now, all you got to do is go to the description box, and you can contact us about them. If you're interested in classes if you're on TikTok, go to our main TikTok page, and go to our TikTok page. Look at where it says. Look at where it says website. Click on that. That's our link tree. Click on where it says classes. You can you can see the curriculum for the next 2 months for the second semester. If you like what you see, or even if you don't, or even if you have questions, just fill out the form. You can click on the form. There's a link up top on that screen for you to be able to fill out the form and get us the information ASAP, and we'll make sure that we get back in contact with you as soon as possible. So thank you. We appreciate the King Queen in each and every one of you. Even if you are not living inside the kingdom of queendom yet, we appreciate the potential King and Queen in each and every one of you. You said, if you planted Jesus in my brain and as a brand, isn't that what we believe? If somebody planted that to you, sure, but that would still be a misinterpretation if his name wasn't Jesus, right? Anyways, I don't know. We gotta get ready to go, but thank you. We appreciate it. As always, we give all honor and praise to the Most High. Yahweh Elohim, please study this word, right, and meditate on it so you can see if the interpretation is correct. So you can therefore be a hearer of it, and not only be a hearer as well, you can be a doer, right, and put the two together, and that's when you get proper interpretation. So if you've been hearing Jesus, but you realize that Jesus or Jesus or Yesu or any kind of Zeus worship is wrong, and you've gotten proper interpretation, study to see if what we're saying is true. And then that's when you use it correctly with proper interpretation. Thank you so much for being on. We're fasting until 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time tonight. We look forward to being with you all again. I know there's a couple people we got to contact and make sure we get your class stuff together. So we'll get that together as soon as we finish. Thank you so much for being on and spending the whole time with us. And we'll be back tomorrow with FAQ at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. We'll be back on tonight. I'm sorry, we'll be back on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. Real quick, we'll be on tomorrow, again at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, to continue this great series. Thank you for your questions. We appreciate you. And check out the Patreon when you get a chance. A lot of great stuff that gets posted there that doesn't get posted anywhere else. And we look forward to talking to you all soon. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ. We are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, yesterday, that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace.